The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey guys, this is Matt Seidel, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Chris Samsa. On today's show, we'll review the 50th anniversary show, preview the 2022 New Japan Cup, and cover all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy Chris, how you guys doing?
Hello. New Japan Cup season. Let's go.
I'm just so glad to have our friend Chris on the show.
It's always great. I was listening back to last year's episode, and Chris was on there for the New Japan Cup preview as well. So,
you know, I've got I'm also on the New Japan calendar, right? So I've got this calendar of events that I fly in for the Keeping It Strong Style big old preview for. So, New Japan Cup preview is one of my favorites because New Japan Cup is an easy, digestible tournament for people to dive into New Japan with, and it'll always hold a little special place in my heart because I think it was 2020 when I came on the show and we were like just getting back into everything, and like we did the New Japan Cup preview and everything felt like just a little bit more normal then. And here we are at least in Illinois. I know that you guys are in Florida, so nothing has ever changed. But in Illinois, all of the mandates and things of the sort are seemingly going away. So I'm starting to feel the return to normal, and I think we're seeing that in Japan too, a little bit, getting there. You know, I think they're a touch behind us, but we're starting to see some confidence that we're gonna figure this thing out in a way that we can go forward. So the New Japan Cup will kind of be indicative of that again. So that's a cool full circle moment. 2 years in the making, and I don't know, I guess a year and 3/4 because that was like June. So, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. Love doing the big old previews. I assume I won't get any sleep tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna probably be a long one. I did debate about having 48 guests on to break down this 48-man bracket, but I don't think there's 48 podcasters out there covering New Japan right now.
Just 3.
But we got tons of stuff to dive into. First thing, before we get into anniversary and New Japan Cup, we got to crown the February match of the month and February wrestler of the month. I'll kick us off with the match of the month. So we're going to go with the Okada Naito title match from the last night of the Golden Series tour. Chris, what do you think about this matchup?
You know, I going into it, I was like kind of down on it because it's kind of like it's one of those matches that you expect to see in Tokyo Dome or in these huge spots, right? And this didn't feel that way, but damn, by the end of that match, it sure felt that way. Great match. A reminder that these are two of the best in the world. A reminder that Tetsuya Naito is one of the best in the world, if anyone forgot, which people forget that Naito is about as good as it gets. And he's right up there with the rest of them. And that was just a great reestablishing match for Naito. And, continuing the run that Okada's on since really the G1. He's fantastic, and he's a winner. And I didn't expect Naito to win, but I also bit on a lot of the near falls, and that's all you can ask for in a situation like that. So probably my top match of the year so far, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. But I was they got me right into it, which is awesome.
Young boy, you have any other thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Okada Naito, we gave the full review last week, so I'm not going to rehash everything, but I completely echo the statements and sentiments of Chris there. And, we'll talk about it, but I don't think this will be the last time that we see these two wrestle during this calendar year. And in fact, I've got it booked out to where we might be getting a rematch this coming month during the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, it's an awesome matchup. Like we mentioned, we reviewed it last week. Just if you haven't watched this yet, definitely go out of your way. Definitely the highlight of the Golden Series tour.
The only highlight. No, I'm just
playing. Young boy, why don't you tell the people who our wrestler of the month is going to be?
Gotcha. Now, before I do that, Jeremy, what month specifically did we start this podcast?
We started in November of 2017.
Okay. And I think that the last time that this individual was awarded for Wrestler of the Month was in December of 2017. All those years ago, when he and his at the time tag team partner Evil were the winners of the New Japan or of the World Tag League. And all these years later, he has finally gotten back to the pinnacle. Wrestler of the Month for Keepin It Strong Style, one named Sonata. And, this wasn't necessarily the strongest touring season, February. I think this was a little bit lower than what we're used to from what we see from, say, New Beginning Tour. But Sonata made a great accounting of himself. He was involved in all of those six-man tag matches with the rest of LIJ. And those were usually the match of the night or the highlight of the night for the majority of the tour. All of his interactions with, Tanahashi and Okada. And then at the end of the month, he went ahead and finally, won a singles title for the first time in all these years that he's wrestled in New Japan, finally defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi for the U.S. title, which definitely is criteria enough for this month for him to win Wrestler of the Month. So congratulations to Seiya Sonata, our Keepin It Strong Style, February 2022 Wrestler of the Month.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on the U.S. title match and Sonata's big title win?
The U.S. title match was great, and I would like to see that title get another establishing reign. And Sonata could be the guy that could do that for a little bit. They have been bouncing that title around quite a bit. The match was good. Match was really good, and Sonata has been crisp lately. I think Sonata has a reputation of you get one version or the other, right? You get sloppy Sonata, or you get crispy Sonata, and he's looked pretty good. So I can't debate that, and I think you get in there with Tanahashi, and you're probably going to have a good match, right? But you still got to execute, and that match was great. And he was good throughout all of the undercard stuff. There's no complaints about Sonata in a little while now. So hopefully this is a track he can stay on.
I've got a secret about Sonata. I don't think it's that he's crispy or not crispy or lazy or sloppy. I think the reality is that he can follow to the highest levels. If he has the right dance partner, they can carry him to extreme levels. But if he is in there with somebody that is beneath him, he cannot take them to the mountaintop.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. You look at some of his better matches usually are against guys like Sabre and Tanahashi and Okada. And then when he's in there with some of the lower card guys, it's not always the best stuff. But let's move on now to the talk about the anniversary show and New Japan Cup. First thing here, we had some news coming out earlier in the week. about Kota Ibushi and Hiroshi Tenzan. So both of these guys were announced as being off the anniversary show and the New Japan Cup shows. So New Japan announced that it decided that Ibushi would take more time to recover from his shoulder injury he suffered back at the G1 Climax 31 Finals back in October. Tenzan was also out due to a knee injury during the Golden Series tour. They said Kota Ibushi has been diligently preparing for a scheduled return on March 1st at the Nippon Budokan. However, after careful consultation with trainers, medical staff, and the NJPW Medical Committee, and based on the results of a final medical evaluation, the difficult decision has been made to delay Ibushi's return and remove him from the anniversary card. As a result of both Ibushi and Tenzan being off the New Japan Cup tournament, they have forfeited their matches. So Great Okan, who was set to face Ibushi, will now advance to the second round, facing Taichi Ishimori on March 12th. Tenzan was scheduled to face the winner of Taichi and Toru Yano to take place on March 9th. So the winner of Taichi versus Yano will advance to the third round, wrestling next on March 15th in Aichi. And Ibushi and Tenzan were also set to be a part of an 8-man tag of the anniversary show, and they were replaced by Yuto Nakashima and Kosei Fujita. So guys, thoughts on Ibushi and Tenzan being pulled here?
I mean, when Kota Ibushi went down in the G1, I don't think my first thought was, yeah, I'm going to see him in March, you know? So I guess he looks okay or whatever in social media stuff, but that's a hell of an injury to come back from. So not surprised that they pushed it back a touch. So, and Tenzan, I had no idea he was hurt, but I can't imagine many people had him advancing in their bracket. So, so be it. Such is life. Hope he's okay. He's one of those guys that you're on retirement watch with, right? So You gotta hope he can get past this and have maybe another fun run, kind of like he had with the United Empire last winter around this time. Maybe he's got at least another run for somebody in him before we start to see him taper down.
Yeah, it would be nice for him to get, kind of a big send-off or a special kind of tour. We've seen guys like Nakanishi and Liger and some of those other guys have gotten recently in the past few years. And, he obviously not, prime Tenzan now, but he goes out there, he gives effort when he can, and he still tries to do a moonsault. He hits the chop. So, hopefully he can, recover and be able to, end off his career on a high note.
He is also of that generation where if you can get into the ring, you're gonna go. So you got to figure this, assuming this was just the one match he was gonna have in the cup, whether it's Yano or Taichi, I gotta imagine if he can't go, that's more than maybe one of the younger guys being pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, based off of the anniversary show, I mean, they're willing to put anybody.
The olds can go.
We always talk about olds on top. So, New Japan's definitely, embracing that mentality a little bit here with the 50th year celebration.
I mean, you kind of have to for 50 years. I mean, I get this one. This is not just your miscellaneous booking of the olds, but and Tenzan's not like that. We're not there yet.
Right, no. Yeah.
We can't put him in that crowd just yet, but there's a whole generation before him that was coming through.
So we did have 2 questions here about this. So first from Twitter follower at Reese of Cake, what do you make of the almost false advertising New Japan just demonstrated by announcing Ibushi before he was fully cleared to compete?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people that wanted to make a big, hubbub or whatever you want to call it about this whole thing last week. This wouldn't be the first time New Japan's done something like this. If you recall, last year before the Wrestle Grand Slam card, they literally still had him announced up until the day before, and then So I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think that they have plans and they try to stick to those plans. They want to go forward with them and they're hoping for the best. And then it doesn't pan out that way. And they end up, unfortunately, having to kind of
audible. But this isn't something that they've had to do too much of in the past, just because most of the time they haven't been dealing with this many injuries, and maybe they do need to reevaluate some of their practices, I guess. But it is unfortunate. I think a lot of people want to see Kota Ibushi come back, obviously. The one thing you can give them credit for is they're being completely transparent about what took place, what clearances were or weren't given, what efforts were made, that's the best situation. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like malicious intent here. I think that my bet would be that Ibushi is really close to returning, and that he had one final clearance that he needed, and he didn't get it, or he wasn't comfortable. He finally got to the point where he had to stand up and say like, "Hey, I don't think this is the right time yet." So I don't think I don't even know that I would call it like false advertising. I think that they needed to announce the tournament, and they did, and you can't really do X, and hope for the best and hope that it's Ibushi, but it's somebody else, right? So, but I'm sure they want him to come back in a big spot, like the beginning of a tournament, right? And the next spot for that would be the G1. So he may just need to come back with a title match or something, like they're gonna try to put him back into the top tier mix. So I don't know that this was gonna get him there just based on what his track was through the tournament, but we'll talk about that in a little bit here.
I'm also like, this is speculation, but I'm just on a hunch that he's probably rearing to go.
Totally. No one wants to sit on the sidelines,
Right. So yeah, don't think it was false advertising, but obviously, I would have loved the Bushi to be in the tournament, but I mean, there was definitely upset alert, kind of circling that match there with Great Okan, especially with the way New Japan books when a guy comes back from injury. Usually, a guy comes back, doesn't always win their first match back. Usually has to, come back. They're rusty. They have to shake off the ring rust, and then they are rebuilt back to whatever level they're on. We had a question here from NJPW EXT Danny. Says it was irresponsible of New Japan to book one of the entrants favored to reach the finals before being 100% certain that he'd be able to compete. And to make it up to his fans, will Tenzan win the G1 this year?
Well, Tenzan is Mr. August, all right? So you can never count out. Just like you can't count out Chris Jericho, you can't count out Tenzan. Anything's possible if you just believe hard enough. So that's possible.
He's had some really good G1 runs, so maybe Jeremy and I were just talking that maybe there's one more run for something in there. I don't think it's a G1, but
if they did put him in a G1, that would actually be false advertising because they already gave him his send-off. So that would be a fucking lie from the company at that point, a real lie.
Well, this is an AEW, so maybe New Japan could break their stipulation and get him in there.
And then you stop playing around, put Kojima in a G1. That's what they need to do.
Seriously, like, what more does Kojima have to do? This man's out here having bangers, having an awesome match with Will Ospreay, no DQ matches, feuding with United Empire, coming to America, fighting Moxley, fighting Filthy Tom. Like, this man should be in the G1.
But I do think there's a lot of people that are, like, overtly angry about this whole thing. They were angry before was not, or was putting him in the tournament against his will, there's orders maliciously, and I don't think that was ever the case. I think that was all just storyline. But then it turns out he really isn't cleared, which we've seen a lot of that from New Japan, them kind of blending real life stories into works, and I think that that's kind of what was happening here. And then people want to point to it and say, see, he's not ready. The company, they're and I'm like, how careless is it? This company, New Japan, this is the careless company, the way that they handle the safety of the performers and their health, and with the screening and the testing and all the protocols. Like, come on, let's be real. If you think that this company is like careless, the company was acting maliciously, we'd call it out. I don't even give a fuck. They don't pay us, but I think a lot of people just got worked up for no reason. And then now I think they're transferring their disappointment about not seeing Kota Ibushi in the tournament back onto the company, which is like, they can't do anything. And at some point, he will be back, and it'll be great.
Yeah. So let's move on to the anniversary show here. So we had the anniversary show this morning on New Japan World. And opened up, we had a parade of legends. So a longtime announcer, Kiro Tanaka, he announced all the NJPW alumni to the ring. So we had Wataru Inui, Jushin Liger, Koniaka Kobayashi, Seiji Sakaguchi, Niro Honaga, Tiger Hattori, Motoyuki Katazawa, Milano Collection AT, Minoru Tanaka, Masahito Kakihara, Kazu Yamazaki, Yoshiki Fujiwara, Akira Maeda, Shiro Koshinaka, Kengo Kimura, Masahiro Chono, Keiji Muto, Riki Chosu, and Tatsumi Fujinami all came out there. There's also a video message from the original Tiger Mask congratulating New Japan on their 50th year anniversary. We had Sakaguchi thanking everybody for support. Okada came out. He paid respect to the legends and talked about how this was, Inoki's vision, and it was a great little celebration here.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, it was fun. It was lighthearted. It was enjoyable. It was cool to see these. My man Tiger Hattori coming out was cool. Incredible group of wrestlers coming out to start the night at the anniversary event. I kind of just imagined that they were gonna do something really, really big, or I'm sure they tried to get Inoki or check in on his health or get a video, right? And something's going on there, but it was a cool little thing, the hat tip to the past, right? So, and that's kind of how New Japan is, and I thought this was really enjoyable. It was nice to hear Liger's music again too.
Yeah,
I didn't see this, but hearing the list of names that you just mentioned, those are all names that are literally so. I'll be happy when I finally see it. That sounds amazing. I didn't even know that they were going to be trotting out all those legends. So,
yeah, I don't think they announced anything ahead of time, but so yeah, that was a cool little way to kick off the show and to celebrate the 50th year of New Japan. Though from there, the opening match, we had the House of Torture, Sho, Evil, and Yujiro Takahashi. They defeated the team of Oiwa, Yo, and Tiger Mask. And Tiger Mask, he came out to the original Tiger Mask music, but it was copyrighted, so we couldn't hear it on NJPW World, but they heard it in the arena. But of course, House of Torture here picks up the win as Yujiro hit the Pimp Juice on Oiwa to get the win for the team. So moving on from there, we had Bad Luck Fale, Taichi Shimori, and ELP, all representing the Bullet Club. They defeated Minoru Tanaka, Taka Michinoku, and Taichi. Pretty cool seeing Minoru Tanaka back in action. We reviewed a lot of his stuff when we were doing our final countdown series during the pandemic, looking back at some of the Best of Super Junior stuff, and he looked in really great shape and was mixing up there with the Bullet Club guys, and did a great job on commentary, kind of mentioning his history with Taka Michinoku and kind of why he was teaming up with Taka and Suzuki here. Tanaka's definitely somebody I think with the way he still moves and can go. I mean, I feel he's a guy that should be brought in more.
He looked like he wanted to run in another Best of Super Juniors.
Yeah, man, was
he looked good.
Yeah.
He's been working in Glade?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd be down for that.
That relationship seems to be strong. I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go.
Yeah. And then also something to note here in this match, we had a continuation of the story with ELP and Ishimori. ELP just having that lack of confidence, wasn't able to hit the super kick, but he did hit the Thunder Kiss 86 to get the win here for the team. But also,
can we talk about the that 360 camera thing they've got?
Yeah, what were your thoughts on it?
It's cool, right? I mean, they seem to have a good feel for what moments to pick to use it. So for those who haven't watched, they've got this new, I guess, camera or set of cameras that it seems like it takes a still shot, right? And then it's like it'll then move, and it's like it takes a full rotation around the ring, kind of like if it's like a video game, right? And you have control of the camera, and they did almost one per match on this whole show, I think.
Yeah.
And they would pick like a cool moment. So the moment for this match was when ELP was in the air to hit the splash, whatever he's calling the splash. I'm not a moves guy.
Thunder Kiss 86.
Yeah, Thunder Kiss 86, and that was kind of neat. I don't know if it's up there with like the Noah cinematic look, but it is a neat production element that I'm glad to see some advancement in production with New Japan, because they seem to have just been content with where they were at. So it's fun to add something.
One thing that's weird that you bring that up. So I haven't seen the show, so I'd have to check it out. And keep in mind, I don't recall this ever occurring, but it's just a weird coincidence. Yesterday, I was listening to an old shoot interview from Boss Rutan where he was talking about his time in New Japan, and he described exactly, literally to the T, what you're talking about. He said that they used to have this 360 camera, and he talked about a moment where he threw a high kick, and when he threw the high kick, it like stilled in on it and then 360'd around. So maybe this is an old feature that they used to use and they're bringing it back for the 50th anniversary. Because, or maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but the strange thing is Boss Rutan was literally talking about this exact same thing years ago in a shoot interview. So that's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely a welcome addition to the show, and I feel like we haven't really seen replays in general since the pandemic has happened.
A few, not a lot though.
Not like they used to. Like you used to know when there was a replay coming in a big match.
Yeah,
it's been really like arbitrary when they choose to do it. There's times where you think they should definitely do it and they don't, and then there's times where they do it and it's just Okada kicking someone in the face over the rail. He does that in every match. Like,
I wonder if that was a pandemic staff and headcount thing. You know, they didn't bring the replay operator to everything because they needed to cut a headcount thing.
Is there a guy that just has one job to push the replay button, you think?
Maybe.
I think in a lot of in a lot of live sports that is the case. There's someone is ready to put together any like instant replays because the live guys have to keep filming live.
Nah, we can't be doing that. If if like Naito's taking like 25% pay cuts, we can't afford to pay a guy to hit replay. Like
I think it's 24%. So
whatever. Round up, round down. This man's poor.
But yeah.
Yep, Naito's hurting.
Yeah, 360 replay was definitely a great little touch here to the show, and hopefully we'll keep it going moving forward. So the next match we had Strong Hearts, Lindemann, T-Hawk, and Shima. They defeated Doki, Kanemaru, and Desperado. And this match was a ton of fun. It was so great seeing Strong Hearts in there and just how fast they are in their double team combos. I felt bad for Doki at the end. They like killed this man with their like the triple team combo.
Yeah, this was really fun. I mean, Strong Hearts are great. They're a welcome addition, if you ask me, to the ranks in New Japan. I think that they, even as kind of the outsiders, just parachuting in for events like this or anything else, like it's a cool. That's a neat addition, and this match in particular was really 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 fun. The Strong Hearts seemed like they were. It's hard to tell if they're like over, right? But it seemed like they had people behind them in the building, so that's good to see too.
Yeah, definitely. And also we don't have audible cheers, but it definitely seemed like there was like the energy kind of shifted when those guys came out, and they were just moving super fast. Shima got the win. He pinned Doki at the end there, and then post match we had a stare down between L. Lindemann and Desperado. Despy has been saying he wants to wrestle these guys, and so we're finally starting to see that play out a little bit here as these guys were staring each other down. Despy, he was thinking about maybe running it with Lindemann right there and then, but he thought better and just went to the back.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a lot of support from the outside or from domestic fans. They came from a bigger company, AEW. Real stars.
You get on TNT and you're over.
I don't think were they ever on TNT. I don't think.
Yeah, they had a Dynamite match. I think they had like one, but it happened.
Hey, the AEW bump's real.
and they were on pay-per-view, so
yeah.
Stars. So after that, we had the United Empire back in full force here. Aaron Henare, Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay, and Great Okan. They defeated Yuto Nakashima, Kosei Vegeta, Yuji Nagata, and Satoshi Kojima.
Not sure how that's possible.
What?
I mean, look at that. Look at who they beat. I mean, that's like upset of the year, basically.
Yeah, I guess, Kojima was there, so definitely, could be an upset with, the strongest arm on the other side. But yeah, United Empire was back in full force. They looked really good here. This was another fun matchup, and again, I feel like United Empire, those four really gel really well together and had some great offense here. These young lions, they were getting destroyed by these guys, and in the end, it was Okan who hit the eliminator on Vegeta to get the win for the United Empire.
You say another win for Okan? That's weird.
Yeah.
He seems to be streaking.
Yeah, this man's coming in hot to this tournament.
Then after that, we had LIJ, Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, Naito, and Sanada. They defeated Koshinaka, Toriyano, Ishii, Hanma, and Togi Makabe. And commentary did a great job. Letting the fans know like this was like the original Great Bash heel of all these guys here, and they were kind of the LIJ kind of tweener rule breaker kind of role here. So you kind of had the original Great Bash heel versus LIJ, and kind of this match of two kind of tweener rule breaker groups facing off against each other here.
I don't know how I missed that. It was weird. It's like when you see something that's in front of your face and you're like, this seems familiar, and now that you said it, it's like, oh my god, that is Great Bash heel. Like this.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on this match?
Another fun one. I mean, this card was low stakes, right? So there wasn't anything super heavy on it, but it was all executed well, fun, really a celebration of 50 years and an anniversary. So I actually think this was a cool execution of the anniversary show. I know that people are always expecting the junior versus heavy title match and things like that, but I kind of liked this as a palate cleanser going into tournament season, the big New Japan Cup, and this match included. I mean, bringing together these two groups that had kind of similar roles in the company for different periods of time. That's a neat full circle moment. So it was good.
Low stakes, palate cleanser, fun. Are we describing the anniversary show, or are we describing Wrestle Kingdom Night 3? I'm not sure.
There's a similar vibe for sure.
Yeah. But this wasn't called Wrestle Kingdom, so this was kind of, nobody had high expectations for the anniversary show. This was like a perfect kind of setup for what you would expect for an anniversary show. And we had a question here from Reddit user Les Commission 7252. Do you guys see LIJ as a fully healed faction once again, or a full babyface faction in Suzuki-gun? With both factions being tweeners at the moment, I could see either one or both of these options happening one day.
I think the tweener thing works for New Japan because it's kind of it's a scale, right? It starts at House of Torture and ends with Hantai, right?
Right.
And you place each group along the scale, and I think Suzuki-gun and LIJ kind of hit the same beats in that way. They're almost at the same spot in the scale, but there's LIJ is face leaning, and then Suzuki-gun is heel leaning, right? But they both barely dip their toe across the middle of the line, but they do that. They do dip their toe. So, yeah, not everyone's going to be pure good or pure evil, right? Evil is pure evil, but that's part of the fun of it, because they can twist and turn, and depending on who they're against or which group they're working against, they can play either side of the coin, which I think is it's good to have groups like that.
Yeah, you took the verbiage out of my mouth. Face leaning, heel leaning. That's basically what it is. They're both tweeners with, slight inclinations one way or the other, but they can, they can shift based on who they're wrestling against. So, that's kind of how things are set up in New Japan. The one thing is, I think a lot of people anticipate or try to predict when entire groups or factions are going to turn simultaneously, and that's just so rare. I don't think New Japan really even has much of a track record of even doing that sort of thing, unless it's like a complete overhaul of the group's members and shifts and people getting like kicked out. I can't think of too many times where like a whole group of good guys came out and then suddenly did the big turn, and now, bad guy. It really happened in New Japan too often. So it's more of a gradual process.
Right. And with LIJ, I mean, those guys, they're making money. Even though they're tweeners, I mean, Naito's pretty much, you can call him Babyface. He's so loved. He sells a ton of merch. I mean, the whole faction sells a ton of merch. And with that kind of sports feel of New Japan, it's like a sports team. Like you support who you like and you boo who you don't like. There's necessarily like a good guy or bad guy in like football. Like if you live in a certain city, you're going to support that team. All right, so let's move on to the next matchup here. We had the big matchup with the heavyweight tag champs versus junior tag champs. The team of Bishamon, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto, the heavyweight tag team champs. They defeated the junior tag team champs, Team 6 or 9, Master Wato and Ryusuke Taguchi. Again, we keep saying it fun. So it's another fun matchup. I feel like we got a little bit of big match Taguchi here, facing off against these heavyweight guys, and really wanted to, prove that, it wasn't a fluke for 6 or 9 because they won that 4-way. They're trying to prove that they're a top team no matter what weight class it is. And, they brought the fight to Goto and Yoshihashi here, but just could not outpower their bigger opponents here.
Yeah, that's pretty normal New Japan situation where the heavies take the juniors. But again, I like both of these tag teams. I think Taguchi and Wato makes a ton of sense. And then obviously Goto and Yoshihashi have established themselves through that Never 6 reign and now a nice tag reign, and it's a perfect slot for them. So I like both these teams, so I like this match.
Yeah, really fun matchup here. Definitely, I think it's the one you can kind of check out. Really fun, easy to watch, and these guys worked pretty hard here. Then the main event of the show, big main event here, we had Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, and Tatsumi Fujinami. They defeated the team of Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., and Yoshiaki Fujiwara. Boy, what a match this was.
This is a match that happened.
You guys sound pretty low on this. Was it not good?
It was a very entertaining matchup. But you had Fujinami out there. You had Fujiwara. Like Fujinami looked okay. Like he still had like a decent body, somewhat. But Fujiwara, man, he was looking rough.
Well, he was looking really rough the last time I recall seeing him, which was like 4 or 5 years ago in the Rambo. And I mean, they couldn't even throw him over the top rope. That's how rough he looked. So I was surprised to hear that he was in this match. But then again, I think he wrestles from time to time in like tradition and like, some of the other like minor, leagues that are out there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a tribute match.
Yeah, there was one hilarious spot where like Suzuki wasn't ready for Fujiwara to get tagged in, and Fujiwara tagged himself in, and then he like slapped Suzuki, and Suzuki slapped him back, and Fujiwara slapped him back, told him to get out the ring. There's another spot where they were trying to all do like triple dragon screw, so like Fujinami did a dragon screw, then Tanahashi did one, and Okada had Fujiwara's leg, but he just did like a leg attack because he didn't want to dragon screw Fujiwara. But yeah, I mean, definitely, this was not like obviously not a match of the year can or anything, but it was a fun matchup, and it is what it is when you have guys like Fujiwara and Fujinami in there. But great way to kind of honor New Japan's past. It was great seeing Zack back in the mix. He's been gone since Wrestle Kingdom, and this came down. Not many pin eaters in this match, but it came down to Okada and Suzuki, and Okada hitting the landslide tombstone on Suzuki, followed up by the Rainmaker, putting Suzuki away. So, the ace team here of Tanahashi, Okada, and Fujinami get the big win.
Do you guys want to hear breaking news about Suzuki since we're already talking about him anyways?
Sure.
Oh, I know. Pick me. No, don't pick me. You can go with it.
GCW just announced that they have booked for Joey Janela Spring Break Minoru Suzuki versus Effie. So we're getting a live murder is what they're trying to do. GCW living up to the deathmatch moniker because there will literally be Suzuki murdering Effie on that pay-per-view.
That's a match.
Suzuki in America.
Yes, Suzuki's U.S. tour part 2, I guess, is kicking off here.
Same dance, different song.
So post match, we had promos from Okada mentioning Inoki again, and Inoki not being able to be there, and just trying to really be the face of this 50th anniversary and honor guys like Inoki. We got promos from Tanahashi, promos from Fujinami, doing his signature closing each Nissan Da. It was overall really fun anniversary show here, really easy to watch. Definitely recommend just put it on. It's fun to watch. So now
I will do just that.
Yeah, check it out, Josh. So now let's talk about the New Japan Cup, what everybody wants to know. They want to hear our thoughts, predictions, the big preview show. Last, I think, 2 years in a row now, we've had Chris on to, break down New Japan Cup and give some stats and previews. And Chris is running a contest over at sportprowrestling.com. By the time you hear this, it's probably closed. So hopefully you entered in that contest. Super easy to enter into. Like we mentioned last week, we have 48 guys in the tournament, 16 first-round matches, with 16 guys getting buys. And also we talked about Abushi and Tenzan. That kind of threw some stuff off in the tournament as well. So where do you guys want to start with this? Do you guys want to break down round by round? Do you kind of want to talk about your favorite matches in the first round or your winners? Where do you guys want to go with this thing?
I think typical way to go through it would be to kind of look at each quadrant and kind of go that way. So you've got kind of, I guess, top left, top right, bottom right, and I think that's maybe the way to go about it. This is a production meeting on the air.
Well, that's usually how, when I'm doing my predictions, I like to go Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. That way I can come up with my, semi-finalists and kind of book it out from there based on what I think I'm seeing. But everything that you mentioned, Jeremy, I'm cool with all of it. I mean, I was hoping you guys would guide me through this. I'm just here to add color. You guys are play-by-play.
I'm an analyst. Thank you very much. I think Jeremy is the official play-by-play.
All right. Well,
I think if the three of us were a 3-man booth, Jeremy's obviously on play-by-play. Josh, obviously the heel color, and I'm here to just provide facts, like straight spit facts. So
cool, Mike Tenay.
Listen, if that's a comp, if I can grow to the Mike Tenay comp, I'll take that all day. Mike Tenay, Chris Charlton, give me that's some shine. I'll take.
If they're ever having issues with a New Japan, broadcast team, I think the three of us, would make a nice little trio.
Let's try and let's call a match and then send something into Goto. See how that goes.
I mean, we can't be any worse than Kozlov.
I'm sure y'all know I've been trying to get a seat at that table for a long time, but travel in the pandemic is a little bit of a challenge in its own way. So
yeah. All right, well, let's look at the bracket here. Let's start in the top left here. So, top left, we have the heavyweight champ versus junior champ, Kazuchika Okada versus El Desperado.
Yeah, night one main event. Also kind of a hat tip to the anniversary show. But these have been two of the more active wrestlers in New Japan for the last, say, 365 days or even just the last 6 months. With Okada ripping through the G1 and then El Desperado having one of the longest Best of the Super Junior tournaments of all time in regards to ring time. So these guys are primed and ready to go after each other. I think everyone can pretty much pinpoint what direction this is going to go. Yeah. But I think there's a good match to be had here, and I think that I don't think they're going to, I don't think El Desperado is going to come out looking any worse than he did going in. He's going to probably end up looking better. So I got a feeling this is going to be a hell of a main event on night one of the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, we've got, the IWGP champion in the tournament, which, as we mentioned on the previous show, this is the first time that's happened to my knowledge, and, kind of an anomaly. And I think there are some individuals out there that are, obviously it's New Japan Cup, so you're looking for the big upsets, and to do the non-traditional things. And I think there are some individuals that are kind of looking at Okada's trajectory and trying to figure out where's the upset coming, because you might have that inclination to get the champion out of the tournament as soon as possible, since he shouldn't, or most likely wouldn't, win it, because it's the winner goes on to face him. With that being the case, though, I think a lot of people should kind of cool their jets for a minute and realize the first two matches he has, provided he wins this one, are against two juniors. And beyond that, because he's the champion, he's going to go deep most likely, similar to how IWGP champions usually do very well in G1s. Usually they're either finalists or tied with finalists, and so he's going to do really well most likely. I don't see anyone in Okada's path on this Q1 quadrant that's going to knock him out. The thing here for Desperado, he does kind of need, he's definitely taken a step up in the last year or so. He's been active, like you said, Chris, but I do think that this match could do a lot to continue to further his legacy and his slotment at the top, especially kind of coming off of maybe a somewhat lackluster title defense against Wato. Having a great match with Okada could really do a lot for him, and I think that's the best we can hope for here.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that they want the upset alert. They want Despy to get the big win here, but obviously it's been made pretty clear that Okada is the kind of the face of the 50th anniversary year, and he's even mentioned that in promos. He wants to be the guy leading the charge this year, and he's the world heavyweight champion. So yeah, I think it'd be a very bad booking call to have Desperado win. But like you mentioned, Josh, I think this is a great opportunity for Desperado to kind of have like a breakout match and show what he can do with a guy like Okada. To really, I think a loss here with a great match would elevate Desperado's stock and get some steam going for him.
And then, since we're on the subject, and I think just to kind of, because we got 48 guys, we got to go through this a little quicker. Wato's on the docket for Okada. I think we all got Okada going through. Is there anything we can really add to Wato? Any kind of commentary, or is it pretty much just open and shut case? He's not beating Okada, obviously.
It's almost the same deal at a lower level, right? El Desperado's got a little bit more to gain from it because he's already got a little bit more of that boost. But you want Wato to continue to grow, continue to establish himself. He's gotten so much better. He's been, he looks good. He looks good in the ring. He's a junior tag champ. Same deal though. You want him to come out looking like a potential big future star.
Right. And I feel like, again, Wato needs a performance, a great performance of a guy like Okada to kind of help, change people's perspective of him. I think, people have been down on Wato, even though he has been improving, and now he's, junior tag champ with Taguchi and doing good in that role. I think, people, and a lot of people will be kind of parachuting in for this tournament. It'll be good for them to see Wato have a good performance here.
Nice. So Okada goes through. Most likely he's going to beat Desperado and Wato. The next match we kind of need to discuss, and it's one that's a lot more important now than it was when these brackets first came out. Yano versus Taichi. Now, initially, the winner of this match was going to go on to face Tenzan, but with his exit from the tournament, the winner of this match is going to get a bye through the second round and go straight to the third round, most likely to face Kazuchika Okada. So, I mean, what are you guys thinking about Yano? And because I think that's actually kind of a pick-em match, to be honest.
Who you got, Chris?
I've got Taichi penciled in. Now, the only bracket I've done, and I was telling you guys this, I think, off the air, the only bracket I've done is like when the brackets came out, I started to just slap one together, just like gut reaction. And my gut reaction is that Taichi goes through. So that's, I think, still where I'm at. Yano hasn't been eliminated in the first round of the New Japan Cup since 2014, though.
Ooh.
Yep.
So there's a stat bomb, right? Like, it's been a long time since he got bounced in round 1.
Yeah.
A lot of second round bounces, but not many firsts.
Yeah, we were in a recently. Everyone was picking. And now, keep in mind, I'm picking Taichi as well because I think he deserves it. I think he's a guy that at this point kind of needs to get that entry to that bigger match. But we're in a group where people were all picking Taichi, and I was like, guys, like Yano doesn't really lose in the first round hardly ever. I think it's happened in the 16 New Japan Cups he's ever been in. It's happened 4 times.
Five times.
Okay, but the first 2 times, his first couple New Japan Cups when he was like much lower on the totem pole. So like, you know, taking those out of the equation, it's happened like 3 times out of like 12. Like, you know, it's not that often that it happens, and it's been a really long time since it did happen. So I mean, that kind of stacks the deck a little bit against Taichi, and I wouldn't be surprised if Yano did pull the upset here. But I'm hoping for the Taichi match personally.
Yeah, because if Taichi goes through, then you get Taichi Okada, which is then Okada's first heavyweight match of the tournament, that's great. I think that would be a great match. Otherwise, you get Yano Okada, and that.
I feel like that would make Okada's path way too easy if you have Yano going through to face him there.
Yep.
I got Taichi winning this one also, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Yano were to pull some kind of crazy upset. But I really feel like with Dangerous Tekkers kind of parting ways and not getting back together since Wrestle Kingdom, I feel like they're trying to focus on these guys as singles, and so I feel like this is the opportunity to kind of pull the trigger on Taichi and have him go in and get to face Okada.
Sets up a big KOPW match for Taichi and Yano down the line too if Taichi wins. I'm only half kidding. Like, that seems like a thing that
could happen.
Could actually happen because Yano might just be wrapped up with Suzuki-gun for a little while.
Microphone on a pole match.
Microphone on a pole match.
Winner gets the rights to Miya Abe.
That sounds illegal.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, you might want to edit that.
So a little bit lower down on the other half of this quadrant, you've got Goto versus Nagata. The winner of that match faces Dick Togo in the second round.
I mean, first of all, I think it's going to be a fire matchup, but I'm going with Goto over Nagata. Then
this is one of the matches that, I mean, so Goto is Mr. New Japan Cup, right? I'm sure a lot of people know that. I'm sure a lot of people know that already. He's got the most New Japan Cup matches all time. He's got the most New Japan Cup wins in single matches all time. He's also a 3-time winner? 3-time winner, 09, 10, and 12. So he is a threat, right? I mean, you can play that up a little bit. He can be a threat throughout the whole tournament. So that's awesome. And then Nagata's no slouch either. He's got 15 total New Japan Cup wins. He's got the 5th most matches in the New Japan Cup history. So he's also a 2-time previous winner. So we've got 5 New Japan Cup wins now, none since 2012 in this whole in this match. But that, you can make something out of all that. Which is why this matchup, I think, exists in the first round, is because you can establish the kind of high-end nature of the New Japan Cup, because these guys are legends of the tournament.
Well, the other thing too to keep in consideration is like a lot of people want to write off Nagata, but it wasn't that long ago that he upset Minoru Suzuki in like the first or second round of this thing. So he has a recent track record of pulling the upset. That being said, I think that Nagata Goto will be very hard hitting, very good, but I've got Goto going through just because of his current status as a, heavyweight tag team champion plus all of his success in the tournament. I think it just makes the most sense to have him go through. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nagata did beat him. But I'm kind of hoping that Goto ends up in that round 3 against my pick, which we'll get to here in a moment.
Yeah, I think another thing to keep in mind, Nagata, I believe, is going to be one of these guys who are going to be heading to the U.S. pretty soon. Has a lot of dates coming up in March and April. So get him at the tournament early, gives him some time to rest before he travels to the U.S. And so the winner of that will face Dick Togo, who's getting a bye, and I'm assuming whoever wins, either Nagata or Goto, would beat Dick Togo. So we would have Goto, going further in the tournament, beating Dick Togo there, getting into that later round. The next up, we'll have Shima and Taka Michinoku.
Yeah, with Dick Togo and Shima and Taka Michinoku and Kanemaru, we got a lot of outside junior legends kind of rounding out this part of the quadrant here.
Yeah.
But I think we all got Goto beating Dick Togo. Did we cover that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if not, Nagata will probably Dick Togo is probably an afterthought, right?
Right.
Yes.
It's essentially a bye for whoever wins Nagata Goto.
Well, I'll start off this next part. So, Shima versus Taka Michinoku will probably be a very good, fun, entertaining, junior style match. And I don't know that I've ever seen Shima and Taka wrestle, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had, just given both of they've never wrestled. First time matchup?
No singles matches.
Oh, wow. It's not too surprising because Dragon Gate does have a reputation for being pretty exclusionary. And so there's probably been a lot of time where Shima was in Dragon Gate and didn't wrestle outside guys. And then by the time he left, Taka was probably either with JTO or New Japan. But
yeah, and most of Taka's singles stuff is in JTO. So unless you're parachuting into JTO, there's not a lot of opportunity to get Taka into a singles match.
But I was thinking back, maybe back
way back, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
like
yeah, no, I mean
Pro or T2P or something like that. You never know.
Right. I looked. That's something I put together whenever I'm looking at a singles match. And I'm sorry, there is one. It was in 05. I have it on my document here for Kevin. So
okay,
05, yeah, 05 in Dragon Gate, Taka defeated Shima.
That's not that surprising for that.
Cork and Hall. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's not 2005 anymore. It's 2022. So I think with Shima coming in and having as much political sway as he has, and also just the name and kind of the momentum and everything like that with the partnership with Glate, I just assume he's got to get past Taka. Plus, Taka's kind of been, the pin eater ever since he came back. I don't think he's won hardly any matches except for just that one with the Young Lion that one time. So, the chances of him beating Shima are probably not great. And then I'm also assuming that since the winner of this faces Kanemaru, he'll similar story, but I think Shima's going right through Kanemaru as well.
Yeah, it seems like they're really kind of behind Strongheart right now. Came in on the anniversary show, big win there. And so, I don't think they're going to bring Shima in just for a cup of coffee. So, yeah, I agree with you, Josh. I see him beating Taka and Kanemaru. And then that would take him to face Goto.
We're at the point now we got Okada and Taichi, and then Goto and Shima pretty much locked in, I think, unanimously between the four of us. So, what are we thinking on, how all of that plays out? Who do we got taking this first part of the quadrant?
I wouldn't say there's a 0 chance that Taichi wins against Okada and he's the foil here. But I wouldn't bet on it. So, it's hard to pick where the champion loses in a single elimination tournament. Like that's really the big challenge here, because it's got to be. I got to figure it's not the final, because then you're just going to do back to back the same match almost. So it's got to be a little bit into the tournament, but it's got to be meaningful, because you got to figure that's going to set up a championship match. So Taichi, could it be Taichi? Sure. Yeah. Could it be Goto or Shima? Also, sure. But I guess, you could definitely knock him out of the final 4 too. So it's hard. I have Okada on my gut check bracket here. I've got Okada going all the way through this bracket, going through Goto in the quarters.
Yeah, I think that whether Okada's wrestling Taichi or Yano, I've got Okada going through. I don't see any real threats to his trajectory, and I think that that's what we're all looking at in this quadrant until at least the quarterfinal. But most likely, I think he's winning the quadrant and going into the semifinals. Just my hunch, I think we're getting Shima over Goto, and I think we're going to wind up with a quarterfinal of Okada versus Shima, which is kind of dream match territory.
That's cool.
At that point. Yeah. And, I know some people are probably looking at Shima like it's a junior, but given his track record and his history and his status in the industry, I mean, that's a really cool dream match. And I think Okada's beaten Shima as well, and probably the first real threat that he has in the entire, pathway that he has in the tournament.
For me, I got Okada versus Goto. I think the Shima option is probably a cooler way to go. I just figured again with Goto being a tag champ, he would get pretty far into the tournament, and then I think you got a cool matchup with Goto versus Okada, which I don't think that's happened in a while. And I would have Okada winning that, and so Okada kind of winning that top quadrant there.
Yeah, and if that happens, I don't think that's impossible. I would agree with you, but I think they're gonna have it's Goto. He loses in big spots. I think they're gonna have Shima beat him.
It's possible, yeah. So let's move on to the bottom quadrant here. So that will kick off with Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Yo, and that winner will face Bad Luck Fale in the next round. Fale has a bye in the first round.
Well, there's been a lot of criticism about Yo ever since this feud with Sho kind of kicked off. So, I mean, putting him in there with a guy like Hiroshi Tanahashi gives him a lot of opportunity to have a great match. That being said, I just can't fathom Tanahashi coming off of a loss to Sonata and losing his title, that he's going to lose to a junior in Yo. So I assume Tanahashi is going through to wrestle Bad Luck Fale. And believe it or not, this is the first real big upset that I have penciled in on my bracket. I've got Bad Luck Fale going over Hiroshi Tanahashi. And
That's what I have also.
Oh, shit. And I think it's because Fale's beaten him in New Japan Cups in the past and in G1s. And he's been gone for a while, and he's been doing that whole Lions Roar series. And, he's kind of coming in fresh, and Tanahashi's coming in after, a loss and then a first-round match. I think it just makes sense to have Fale beat him. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's one of those things you're not going to, bring Fale into the country and knock him out, right away. I think you have to get your use out of Fale. And like you mentioned, Lions Roar is happening, a great way to kind of promote that as well. And like you mentioned, there's a history of Fale beating Tanahashi, so I definitely see Tanahashi beating Yo and then Fale beating Tanahashi.
The other thing too is we look at the second part of this, and it looks like Naito's probably favored to go through, and I think doing Tanahashi and Naito in that round of the New Japan Cup just isn't really totally their style to give away those big matches like that. That deep in the tournament, they usually do big upsets to kind of avoid throwing away those types of matches. And I think the logic just kind of tells you Fale's probably winning.
Yeah, that's how I got there too. I looked at the fact that I was going to push Naito through, and I just don't think we do Tanahashi Naito in the quarterfinals of a New Japan Cup.
Yeah, me too. But if we do, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I guess that's not even the quarter. That's not even the quarters.
It's not even. It's before the quarters.
It's like round. I guess in this year's tournament we'll call that round 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the big matches, they either happen during the first round or they save them for later on in the round. So yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, it's the first round, the semis, and then the finals. Like that's where you get the really big matches. They'll pepper in some good stuff as the tournament goes on, but I don't think you get Naito Tanahashi in the third round of a New Japan Cup.
The other thing too is Fale Naito is definitely a capable enough match to like draw with. You know what I mean? It's depending on the show size. Because again, it's the third round. They're probably not running big arenas, so they don't need to do Tanahashi Naito.
Right, and then with Fale beating Tanahashi, that would give him a lot of momentum and make people think, oh, maybe he can beat Naito also. Hey,
and maybe he could. He's gone to the finals of a New Japan Cup before.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Naito, so he's facing his former No Limit tag team partner Yujiro Takahashi in his first round matchup. So I think we're all kind of agreement that Naito's getting the win here.
That's the match everyone was waiting for with the G1 last year, and then we didn't get it because of Naito's injury. So, truthfully, though, I mean there's a ton of history there. They haven't wrestled a singles match since 2014, and before that they were like connected for a very, very long time, since really 2006. So I think that'll be a really fun match. Both of them are clever, so I think they'll be able to put something together there. I think Naito goes through because I do think he's kind of on a reestablishing run here. Even in his loss to Okada was a reestablishing moment, and then I think he's got to just get some wins. But Naito doesn't win. I mean, like, that's the other thing, is like Naito is the lovable loser, right? Like, dude can lose and lose and lose and lose and still end up in some sort of big title match, right? So there's always the chance that he gets knocked out here, but I don't that's not my gut feeling.
There's probably some Bullet Club ghoul that's listening to this right now, and they're like, don't you see? The winner of the match faces Goto. Yujiro Takahashi is in the Bullet Club. They're telling a Bullet Club story. He's going to upset Naito, and then we're going to get the test of true loyalty. Who does Yujiro side with? Is he Team Switchblade, or is he Team Tongan, or is he Team House of Torture? The rift with Goto. There's someone out there that thinks that this is actually what's really going to happen. I promise you.
But that's also not entirely out of the question, because then after that you end up with Fale, right? So like these. There's a lot there.
Listen, if they
there's a lot there.
Listen, if they do that, this company, someone needs to get Goto out of there.
I think
how many Bullet Clubs is the real question. How many Bullet Clubs can we have?
We got Bullet Club Hollywood. We got House of Torture. We got the Firing Squad.
Oh God!
Got Bullet Club Impact.
I do not want to watch an entire quadrant section that is dedicated to Fale, Goto, and Yujiro Takahashi. Wrap up the promotion if that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think I got Naito going through. I think Naito will beat Yujiro here, go in and beat Goto as well. Gato's the similar position as Togo, where whoever's facing them, they're going to get the win. So I think Naito will get through Yujiro, get through Goto, and then end up facing Fale.
That would be Naito's first singles win in Budokan.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, then that's going to move us on to the next part of the quadrant. So it looks like we have Togi Makabe versus Jeff Cobb. The winner goes on to wrestle Satoshi Kojima. Now, I think a lot of people have a foregone conclusion about who they think's winning this, but and they're probably right, but this is a little bit tougher grouping of three than most of the groups we've seen in this first couple rounds. Makabe, Kojima, Jeff Cobb, that's kind of like a Haas big boy division right there. So I think most people have Cobb going through both opponents, but if you're telling a story with Cobb, he's going through a lot tougher guys than, say, like Naito or, Fale or Okada.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first thought was that Makabe versus Cobb would be a really fun match. If Makabe gives us one good singles match every year, and it's the first round of the New Japan Cup, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I think Cobb goes through both those guys. I don't think you book him down like that.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the main thing, though, I don't think Makabe has a shot at beating Cobb, but I think Kojima has an outside chance of being the guy that could upset him. And, you know, the way that they've been doing this tournament, a lot of the people that have buys are no-hopers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of made the tournament in a certain way more predictable than most of the other New Japan Cups. But in this one isolated situation, I think Kojima has enough credibility to where he could beat Jeff Cobb. But I think Cobb is going through both these guys in 2 anticipated matches, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys.
I guess my question becomes: do you then burn Cobb, Naito in the quarterfinals?
That's if you have Cobb going all the way through to beat the guys in the next group, which I don't know if he will or not. Depends.
You think Cobb loses to Yoshihashi?
Well, we're going to talk about that when we get there, but possibly. Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, for me, I got Cobb also going through. Again, I feel a similar situation where you're bringing Cobb in from the U.S. Like, I don't feel you're going to upset him in the second round and have him wrestle tags the rest of the tour. So I feel like he's going to get through really far. I feel they've done a great job in elevating him. So I have Cobb going pretty far in this thing. And so, yeah, I think he's going to take out Makabe and Kojima. They'll be fun matches.
The man says he's winning the tournament, so I can't disagree with the quote tweet that he's winning the tournament. So
did he fill out a bracket and book himself to win the tournament?
You know what? I should actually check that because he might.
Did you get a username Aloha Maker?
I'll say he will not. He would not be the first person in the New Japan Cup to fill out a bracket for the New Japan Cup.
So just to make things a little easier here to get to where Chris was going, we got Hanma versus Yoshihashi. The winner takes on Young Lion Kosei Fujita. Hanma, he's basically dad status. He has no shot of beating Yoshihashi, and I don't think Fujita does either. I think Yoshihashi is the clear-cut guy that's going through this quadrant.
Okay, I'm conflicted here, though, because Hanma is 0-9 in the New Japan Cup. This will be his 10th New Japan Cup, and he's never gotten out of the first round. But Hanma is 3-0 in singles matches against Yoshihashi. Dating back to, I guess, 2010 was their first. 2010, 2015, 2016. So, you know, there's something there. There's some conflict there.
I'll give you this. They have actually booked Hanma much stronger since the start of this year than they normally do. And so is there an upset possibility? Sure. Could he be the guy that goes through to get beat by Jeff Cobb? Yes. But that's as far as I'll take it. I think that there's a potential of an upset there, but it should be Yoshihashi.
But then also Yoshihashi 2-0 at Budokan Hall.
And not only that,
matches, which seems crazy.
Yoshihashi went pretty deep in this New Japan Cup last year.
Or was it the year before? Second round. The year before in 2020, he lost to Evil in the quarters.
That's what it was. Okay, I'm confusing them. Yeah, he made it to the quarterfinals the year before, so that's the other part of it for me.
Yeah, and he's still one half of the heavyweight tag champs with Goto. So yeah, I have a hard time seeing Hanma get the win here. I mean, also they could have Hanma get upset, and it would be cool, but ultimately, I feel like the winner of that little bracket there, their fate is to eat a Tour of the Islands. I think that's going to be Yoshihashi. And with Cobb beating Yoshihashi, you could potentially set up some kind of tag team title scenario for United Empire.
So we're at the point now, we pretty much all have it booked. Fale Naito and Cobb versus Yoshihashi most likely. And I've got Naito and Jeff Cobb going through. I do have them doing the Naito Cobb rematch in the New Japan Cup, which we did just see them wrestle back in January. And that is one of the things that did perplex my bracket a little bit in booking this, because I feel like, do you want to do that match at this, at this point? But I just couldn't see. I couldn't see a logical way for them to get out of doing that match the way that this is all kind of laid out. I think that that's the most likely outcome.
I mean, yeah. Yoshihashi upset Jeff Cobb, I don't think is completely out of the question, though. But Cobb beating Yoshihashi and then maybe either losing to Naito or going on, like that makes that quarterfinal match much more of a pick-up, much more of a toss-up, which I think is where you want to get to. Like, that's where you really want the questions to start to arise, is in that quarterfinal, especially in a tournament that's laid out this way, where you're right, they're in kind of like these little trios instead of just the twosomes. So I think that the quarterfinals is where it all kind of shakes out, and that's where you start to see the really questionable matchups. So Naito Cobb that's one that either guy could go through, and you wouldn't really know what else to say about it.
One thing else I'll say about round 3, either of these two matches that we have laid out could be upsets, just because it is New Japan Cup and nothing is guaranteed. And all these guys are credible enough to where, given the right match, the right circumstances, Fale or Yoshihashi or both could hypothetically beat these guys. But I don't know. I just have it laid out. I think it's going to be Naito Cobb rematch.
Yeah, at this point, we should just say we're basically talking through like the chalk bracket, right?
Yeah.
There will be upsets, right? There will be upsets that happen, and that is absolutely the fun of New Japan Cup.
Well, that's the hard part. Is normally I when I book my brackets, I usually have upsets, but I found it really hard to actually find enough compelling upsets this year that made sense to me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do just go chalk. Every now and again, Goto will do that.
Oh, yeah. 3 of these quadrants will go chalk.
Yeah.
One of them will have some weird upset, and somebody surprising will end up in the quarters of the semis.
Yeah, I also have a Naito Cobb rematch there. I feel like with Cobb coming back from the leg injury, it's a perfect kind of story to tell of him trying to get revenge on Naito for injuring him and do the big rematch, and then Cobb can get the win back on Naito, and you can set up a third match with these guys later in the year.
So you have Cobb beating Naito in the rematch.
Yeah.
See, this is where we're going to defer, because I've got Tetsuya Naito beating Cobb back-to-back here, which I think would surprise a lot of people. And I think that is, in a sense, kind of an upset, because we're used to the 50-50 thing. But I think that they'll probably end up in the same G1 block, and maybe Cobb beats him there. But I think Naito's got a date in front of him where he needs to go through. So I've got him and Okada going to the semifinals or quarter or whatever it is this year.
I got Cobb Okada.
I also have Cobb Okada, but I desperately wanted to get Okada out of that match. But I couldn't get there. I did because spoiler alert, I picked Jeff Cobb to win the tournament. And because I think there's a story there with him and Okada. And I think that's a hell of a championship match, right? So but I didn't want them to do Cobb Okada and then do Cobb Okada again. So but I couldn't get Okada out of that top quadrant.
Well, here's my logic here, and this is gonna probably ruffle some of the logic that people have. We did a Okada Cobb trilogy last year. I think if Cobb beats Naito or whoever it is and goes through, that's only the semifinals. I don't think that whoever's beating Okada on this side of the bracket is also going to win the tournament.
That's exactly it. That's what I meant. Like, I desperately want to get Okada out of that semifinal spot because I don't think the winner of the tournament is also the person that knocks him out.
Right. And I don't see the person that's beating him in the semifinal is going to go through and actually win the whole tournament. And I don't see anyone important enough earlier than this point in the tournament in Okada's part of the bracket to actually be the guy to get him out of there, which is why I can't. I think if you do Cobb again, you're getting 4 matches in less than a calendar year. That's kind of a little.
If Cobb wins the tournament, then you've got 5.
Then you got 5. That's kind of an overkill in a certain.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And then the other thing too is I think that it's gonna be Naito. I think Naito's gonna beat him, and that's gonna set up whatever the May defense is, the traditional. I know it's not called Dantaku, but the traditional Dantaku defense. Whoever is in this side of the bracket, I just don't see them winning the tournament. I think it's got to be a guy from the other side.
Well, April is wrestled in Dantaku, right, in the Pepe Dome, and then May is something else, right?
Or however they're doing it this year. I'm used to May being Dantaku, I think.
Yeah, you've got April.
May 3rd is Dantaku.
April's in the Sakura Genesis spot.
Yeah, right.
In
Yeah.
the Dome. Right, and then is there a Dantaku?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There is a Dantaku. It's in the Pepe.
They're doing
Dome.
the Fukuoka Dome.
That's Dantaku. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And
Got it.
I think that whoever beats Okada, that's going to basically set them up for a title shot. But then they're going to lose to someone from the other side of the bracket to set up the Sakura Genesis defense. It just makes more sense to me that it's Naito because they just had a great match. They have a match here. They're going to have a third one in the Fukuoka Dome. I think that story just tells itself. I think it's, to me, once I looked at these brackets, I thought it was pretty clear. Naito's going through. He's going to beat Okada, and he's going to lose in the finals. I feel very confident of this.
See, I had Naito penciled in, Naito Okada, I guess 2 from this trilogy, right? There's a lot of chatter that this Naito Okada thing is going to be a trilogy. This, like another little mini trilogy. I had that pegged for the G1. They'll be in the same block. They'll open up night 1 or whatever, But I don't know if they go to it that quick again.
I got them doing it 4 times this year. They do it here.
That's not a trilogy.
It's not a trilogy. It's a 4. I got them going 4 times. I see Naito winning here. That enables them to do the third match in the Fukuoka Dome. Okada wins, and then Naito wrestles him again in the G1. Most likely, it could just be a trilogy, but if they end up in the same block, you get 4.
And then Naito wins the G1, and they meet in the Dome.
They could do that. I've thought of that too. I don't think they will
So that's
do that.
the trilogy I was thinking, is that you've got the early in the year defense, which is great match. They don't meet again until the G1, but you do it in one of the big G1 spots, and then. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Naito won the G1 and goes to the Dome. That would be great. And, another full Dome, hopefully. The big thing how they ended their last Dome match.
Well, here's the other thing. Cobb could beat him, but I'm still telling you that the winner of whoever beats Okada is most likely, just based on the need for them to have a May defense, they're not winning the tournament. So... Could Jeff Cobb go through and be the finalist for the A side? Sure. But I think it's going to be Naito because I think that's the bigger, more marketable, money-making match. I don't think they're selling out the Fukuoka Dome with Jeff Cobb and Okada.
Fair.
Yeah, my bracket is very similar to yours, Chris. I have Cobb beating Naito, Cobb beating Okada, and Cobb winning the whole thing. I just felt like that final 4 of having Cobb and Okada and kind of reliving that rivalry from last year. I know it goes against the logic of, I totally understand your logic, Josh, of, you don't want the person to beat Okada to win the whole thing, because then, you do blow a second title challenger there. But for me, I just couldn't get, like you, Chris, I couldn't get Okada out of there. And I saw Cobb, like the momentum he has going from last year, him going far. So yeah, it's very hard here. The one question though, are we overlooking Taichi? We're talking about getting Okada knocked out. Could Dangerous T, could he knock Okada out here and him being one of the guys to get a title shot?
That's a great question.
I mean, I think that's the candidate. That's the match to watch, is Okada Taichi. If you're trying to knock out Okada, I think that's where you have to do it, unless you think they want to really give Shima the rub.
Well, that was what I was going to say. That is a possibility. They could go
it, rub.
Yep, they could have Shima be the guy, possibly.
That would be sweet. To be very clear, that would be awesome, because then Then you run Shima Okada for the belt, and Shima, eats the pin there. But that would be quite the move. But you gotta have that shock, right? You gotta have that shocker when you're taking out the champ of a single elimination tournament.
Yeah.
At that point too, like if you've got Shima on that side of the bracket, then some of my ideas about, like, say, Tanahashi's trajectory, Naito's trajectory, Jeff Cobb's, they all change. And I think any three of those guys could be a viable opponent for him in that semifinal role. So,
yeah, round 3 of that upper quadrant is going to be super interesting.
But just before we move on to the second part, so I mean, who do you guys think what names do we think could be the guy? And I think it's some of the names we've gone through. I think it's Naito. I think it's Jeff Cobb. I think those are probably the two most favored. And then I think some of the outside guys, you could push Okada, you could do Taichi, I guess you could do Shima or Tanahashi, but I feel like it's probably got to be Cobb or Naito, right?
Yeah, for me, I would say it's either Cobb or Naito going through.
Yeah, I think that's my leaning. Yeah, because I don't think you send Okada to the final. Unless he's winning the dang tournament and they're not setting up title challengers with the New Japan Cup. Here's the thing, like in the way of needing a May defense and an April defense, right? You're going to have the New Japan Cup winner, and Kota Ibushi's got to be close to back. And I think the first thing he does when he's back is challenge for the title, because Okada has said he wants him to do that. So if that happens, if that's a possibility, then you don't necessarily need to set up 2 title defenses.
Yeah, the other thing too, if you were let's just say if Kota Ibushi was going to win this tournament, I didn't have him winning the tournament, but if you were,
right,
you could just have Okada go through the tournament and win, and then Ibushi comes out and challenges
pick Ibushi, yeah, and that's why you don't put the champion in the New Japan Cup,
right? Or
but if they're ever going to book the champion in the New Japan Cup and then to win the New Japan Cup,
now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to have him do it, because you're probably not going to put him in it next year even.
Right.
Like, you're probably not going to go back to putting the champion in the New Japan Cup. That would be my bet.
Or, we could be really hopeful and hope, we keep hearing about the border restrictions,
totally
being loosened. What if Okada wins the whole thing, and next thing you know, Death Rider video shows up, and we got Okada, John Moxley at one of these shows, or Kenny's still hurt, but somebody from AEW, Bryan Danielson, or some other big free agent pops up on the video screen like, I'm next, and then
the Painmaker comes out.
Hey, Jericho, he needs to win back on Okada.
He'll pop a number.
So let's move on to the second quadrant. And, kind of discussing what we were just talking about there. We originally had at the top of quadrant 3, we had Kota Ibushi versus Great-O-Khan. And, I think for most people, this is one of the single most important matches of the entire first round, because of, just the trajectory of whoever won that match was likely going to go deep in the tournament. And, unfortunately, as we discussed, Kota Ibushi had to withdraw. Great-O-Khan is getting a bye into the second round, as is Taiji Ishimori. So we're going to wind up with the Great-O-Khan Taiji Ishimori match right off the bat in the second round. And I'm thinking Great-O-Khan wins this one, just because of the fact that he's been streaking, he's been beating all the guys they put in front of him, and he's a heavyweight, and Taiji Ishimori's not. So,
yeah, that. I will say no. So I'm sorry. I was pulling up the analytics for the contest, the Sport of Pro Wrestling Bracket Challenge. The Great-O-Khan Ibushi match, even though it's still the same, and it's still of the 204 entries, 103 had picked Great-O-Khan and 101 had picked Kota Ibushi, which is the closest of any of the first round matches. So.
Wow.
A real shame that we're not getting that match. And I know that, 30% of these entries have come in after that announcement's been made. So Ibushi, a lot of people had Ibushi winning when he was actually going to be in the tournament. So that is by far the closest prediction of any of the first round matchups.
Well, yeah, like we talked about last week, I felt like this was an upset alert with Okan winning all singles matches, coming with a ton of momentum. And like I mentioned earlier, of New Japan booking, when guys come back from injuries, they don't always just win right away. They usually, they have to work the ring rust off, get a loss or two, and then come back. So this would have been the perfect setup to have, a quote-unquote not 100% Kota Ibushi, or, a rusty Kota Ibushi facing a very hot Great Okan, and then Okan could have knocked Ibushi off and did a deep run in the tournament, and then you can set up an Ibushi Okan feud, and do a trilogy with those guys.
Yeah. Before the injury, what were you guys thinking? Because I had, for the same reasons you just mentioned, Jeremy, I had Great Okan, but I think a lot of people listening probably thought that was crazy sounding, and maybe it was. Hearing all the things you said, Chris. I mean, I could totally see Kota Ibushi having beaten him and then gone deep in the tournament, but I was picking Okan. I don't know what you guys were thinking at the time.
I saw some brackets with Ibushi winning the tournament, so people thought Ibushi was coming back hot. So I had Okan winning, but I've also been watching the product.
Maybe that's why we're picking Okan.
Like but that's it. Like he's had all these singles matches, and part of it's just the nature of what they had available, right? He's a United Empire guy, so he doesn't have anyone to team with. But they didn't exactly put him up against people that are going to beat him. Like they made him strong, so he's primed for some sort of run here.
Yeah, when I first saw the bracket, I think my initial knee-jerk reaction was, oh yeah, they can tell a cool redemption story for Bushi, have him run all the way through and win to earn his shot back with Okada. But then, like you mentioned, when you look at it deeper, you look at what's been happening the last couple of months and the run that a Great Okan's been on, and then, mention like the Ibushi tweets and Instagram posts about not being 100%. I thought that all played into it perfectly as well. So I was definitely all in on Great Okan winning this matchup.
One last thing before we move on. I have Okan going very deep, and because of that, and him being a United Empire member, that's another reason I don't have Cobb going to the finals, because I don't see them doing too many United Empire versus United Empire matches at this stage of the faction's existence. So that's another kind of thing to keep in mind with that group, because we got, Will Ospreay's on this side of the bracket along with Okan as well, which is something to consider.
And so is Hanare.
And Hanare, yeah. So then the next one, so we've got Oiwa versus Zack Sabre Jr. The winner of that match will take on Doki, who gets a bye into the second round. And I got ZSJ all day for both of those.
Two people have selected the bye to defeat Doki in the bracket challenge.
Damn.
Listen, if Doki gets corona or something like that, God forbid, and he can't go through, they will be right and they'll win.
I can't.
Oh
That's
my god.
So funny.
Man,
I hope it's not a mistake. I hope someone's like, nah, he can't get into the second round.
Damn.
Like something's gonna happen.
Need to put some respect on my boy Doki's name.
There's a chance that outside circumstances take hold and he can't make it to the second round. You never know.
There's something there.
Talk about upsets.
Defeated by vacant.
I know a lot of people are probably not as excited by this side of the quadrant, but I think Oiwa's really good. I think ZSJ is going to be a great little test for him, and I think ZSJ is one of the guys that does best with these young lions. So
I was just gonna say that.
And then Doki's awesome. So I'm kind of excited to see Zach mix it up with these two guys.
I mean, Doki's on the Suzuki-gun tour this year. Like Doki's he's gonna wrestle everyone in Suzuki-gun at some point. I think that's what this year's gonna be. So this is the moment for him and Zack Sabre, and that'll be awesome.
I didn't even think of that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, like you mentioned, Josh, it is very rare to see faction versus faction, but I feel like in a New Japan Cup, and especially this year, this is kind of the year if you want to do interfaction matches, that this isn't the time to do it because the bracket will kind of work its way out that way. And I do think we are going to see a couple interfaction matchups on this side of the bracket, including this Saber and Doki match.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
So then next up we have Yuto Nakashima and Aaron Hanare, and the winner of that will face Sonata in the next round. So I think it's pretty clear that Aaron Hanare will get the win over Nakashima and then face Sonata.
Does Aaron Hanare get the David Finlay treatment in this year's tournament?
I'm going to say no. Just because it's Aaron Hanare, and we've waited for so many times and opportunities for them to like show that they're invested in him on that level, and they've just proven to me time and time and time again that they're not. And so, could it happen? Sure, but I don't think they're going with Hanare.
I have Hanare getting the upset win over Sonata, set up a U.S. title match. I think it's one of those things, again, you're bringing Hanare in. I don't think you just get rid of him.
Yeah, but then Hanare gets Ospreay.
Right, that's what I was thinking. You're gonna get some of these interfaction matchups, and so you do Hanare versus Ospreay, and it's just one of those things. We've seen plenty of Bullet Club versus Bullet Club, but sometimes we've seen LJ versus LJ, so it'll be the first time we see Empire versus Empire, and I think this kind of needs to happen. I think it'll be a good matchup. Ospreay will win, but Hanare beats a champion, so he comes out good, and then you can do Hanare versus Sonata in April.
I think we'll start getting that for United Empire in the G1 this year. But in my opinion, because of how derailed they've been over the course of this pandemic, I just don't see them doing those types of not to say they couldn't, because you brought up great points, Jeremy, but for this particular unit, I don't see them doing matches against one another at this stage of their existence, personally.
My only thing, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, if you want to give Hanare a chance and establish him as someone who's he's a good wrestler, right? And if you want to give him that moment, though, even in a loss, you put him in the ring with Will Ospreay in an interfaction, like prove yourself kind of match, and Ospreay gives him all he's got, Hanare gives him all he's got, and that could be a really establishing match for him. So I'm kind of into it. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I will pay attention to see if it does.
Well, the other argument you have for it too is Sonata's the current U.S. champion. If Aaron Hanare upsets him, that entitles him to a future title shot, possibly.
Sure.
So there's also that aspect to it.
Yeah. So for that, he upsets Sonata and then goes in and has a banger with Ospreay and loses, right? But then kind of shows that he deserves that title shot. And is that Hanare's slot in the faction then? Is the like lower card? I don't know. Where's the U.S. title land? Is it equal to the Never? Is it above?
It's above
the Never? It's above it now, right? Like,
yeah,
they've decided that the U.S. title is the number 2, and the Never's back to traditional Never slotting. I think they wanted the Never to be the number 2 when they put it on Jay White, but then he's farming. And good on him for taking care of his land. But yeah, that's interesting. Damn.
I think because jumping ahead just a little bit, I don't like Ospreay versus Sonata, because I'm assuming Ospreay's going to beat Sonata, and I don't think
he's not a U.S. guy.
Right,
yeah.
You're not going to set up Ospreay for a U.S. match, so there's no reason to have Ospreay beat Sonata when you can have Hanare beat Sonata, get the U.S. match, and then Ospreay can just beat Hanare. There will be no U.S. implications there.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I've got Sonata versus Ospreay, and I've got Sonata beating Ospreay in an upset that inspires someone who's of a higher station to want to come down and get the U.S. title and get revenge. I think that makes more sense. I think that's probably what's going to happen here. And I think that's how they're going to elevate Sonata along the path, carrying this, new red belt that he got.
That means Sonata could burn through Hanare, Ospreay, Great Khan
No.
In theory, he could.
In theory, he could, and that would make him the United Empire Killer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Empire Hunter.
Or then Great Khan's the person that beats Sonata, because then Great Khan is slotted in the U.S. title picture. Great Khan is on the poster for U.S.
Dates.
Yeah.
That's possible too.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it's 2 domestic stars. I don't know how well that would do in the States.
I don't know. He's on the posters. That's all I know.
Right.
So they like to bring the U.S. championship back for the bigger shows, for the U.S. shows.
I think the trajectories of Sonata and Okan at this stage have been 2 of the easier ones. But I think once what we're about to get into with like Osprey and Phantasmo and all that, I think that's a little bit tougher part of this. This is like one of the first difficult ones for me to really book out.
Yeah, so we got Bushi facing Osprey, rematch from some of their Best of Super Junior matchups. Obviously, I think it's going to be a cakewalk. Osprey is going to hit and blade this man's head off and walk in to face ELP in the next round. A lot of interesting stuff has been happening with him. The whole storyline and he lost his confidence, can't hit the super kick. There's been some issues with him and Ishimori. There's also been comments about him potentially wanting to wrestle heavyweight and him kind of calling out Jay White at the end of last year. So, ELP, he has the frame. He's tall enough. I think he is somebody, if they wanted to go heavyweight, that they could. But it's interesting here with Osprey. I know they do have a history from Rev Pro, and I believe ELP has the winning. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. Kind of has some wins over Osprey and Rev Pro. Is that right?
I'm on the spot now.
Well, I
will say that
didn't he beat Will Ospreay in the Best Super Juniors his first year?
I think he did. Yeah.
I will say that Bushi has fewer prediction votes than the bye against Doki. That's my my stall as I pull up some records here. Let's see. They have 5 singles matches. El Phantasmo beat Will Ospreay in the 2019 New Japan Cup and the Best of the Super Juniors in 2019, as well as in Defiant in the UK in 2018. So El Phantasmo actually holds 3 wins over Will Ospreay. They're 3-2.
Yes. But those were all also when they were both juniors, and now it's, different stage.
Will had been in the G1 before he lost in the Super J Cup in 2019.
Yeah.
He was clearly on the path to heavyweight.
He was on the path. He'd been in the Never division and he'd wrestled heavyweights, but he was still, designated as a junior. Obviously things have changed a little bit. That's not to say that I don't think that there's a possibility that Phantasmo could beat him. But after hearing everything Jeremy said and kind of being reminded of like this wavering that they're doing with his character right now, that kind of solidifies for me more so that he has less of a chance of winning than I thought.
Yeah, I'm going with Ospreay here, getting the win on Phantasmo. I think we'll see some of that storyline of him failing to hit the super kick. Maybe we'll even see like Ishimori trying to interfere and help ELP win, and that backfires, and then Ospreay gets the win.
Is there a path to get to? No, that's too out there. Never mind. I'm just not even going to finish that sentence.
So to kind of round out this last part of the third round, I think all of us have Great Khan versus Zack Sabre Jr. And then I have Sonata versus Osprey, but I think on some of your guys' brackets you have Hanare versus Osprey, correct?
Yeah, I got Hanare and Osprey.
I have Sonata and Osprey in there, but I could see Hanare. But I'll probably stick with Sonata if I'm talking like my gut check, chalk bracket.
This is a situation similar to what we talked about before, where anything could happen here. But I think more so than the other round 3 matchups that we predicted, I think that this is one where it's like if we ended up with Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sonata, I could totally see that. If we ended up with, Ospreay versus Okan or Ospreay versus ESJ, I think all of these are hyper plausible and really true pick'ems across the board on both accounts.
Yeah, I got Okan versus Ospreay, and then Ospreay beating Okan.
Oh, that's the United Empire match you're going with. That'd be fun as hell.
Yeah, so I got Ospreay beating Hanare and then beating Okan, kind of setting this record straight that he's the top man in the faction.
And then he can have Jeff Cobb in the final.
He could, yeah.
That'd be fun. That'd be a fun arc. I don't think it's the way they'll go, but I'm here for it. I
have Great Okan beating ZSJ, technician versus technician, and then I have Sonata beating Will Ospreay. And at that point, with Sonata beating Ospreay, that's kind of one of your big upsets, for the tournament. That sets up Great Okan versus Sonata rematch from Wrestle Kingdom this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Great Okan defeating Sonata and going on the path, because at that point, Sonata's already got his big win over Will Ospreay. His story's kind of complete. That sets up a future match between Sonata Ospreay. I think Okan beating Sonata really has nothing to do with the U.S. title at that point, because we've already kind of established a true title match, and we're on our way. That's what I see anyways.
So let's move on to that last quadrant here on the right side. So opening up with a tough first round matchup here with the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii and the Dragon Shingo Takagi.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Whoever wins this match is going straight through all the way, in my opinion, most likely to at least the third round, but probably the quarterfinals, if not the semis. I think this is a pretty important match one way or the other. Because, you look at who else is in the quadrant with them, and just to kind of make it simple, it's Tangaloa, Chase Owens, Jado, Tiger Mask. I don't see anyone in that group that could beat either of these guys plausibly.
You could see a Chase Owens upset. That's a thing that happens
by the third round.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty deep still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I decided to go with Shingo here just because he went so far last year. Ishii has some U.S. dates. He can do a banger and then head on the plane and get ready for the U.S. tour. And then the winner would then face Tangaloa, and I would have Shingo beating Tangaloa also.
That's my exact booking, and for the exact same reasons you said. I think it would be not outside of the realm of possibility, because Ishii did beat Shingo in a G1 recently, but Shingo's probably going to beat him. He's a former champion.
Yeah, I think Shingo should win this.
And then we got Chase Owens and Master Hiro Jado, and the winner will face Tiger Mask.
Yeah, and so the way I was complimentary of some trios, this is probably one of the weakest trios of the entire tournament, and I think it's pretty clear Chase is just going to go through two old juniors back-to-back.
Yep, cradle paw drivers for Jado and Tiger Mask, so that would send Chase Owens to face Shingo, and I got Shingo beating Chase also.
Yeah, I think if it was Ishii, Chase's chances of winning that round 3 match go up exponentially, but if it's Shingo, it's pretty much a done deal. Shingo's going through.
Yeah. So then moving on to the bottom here, we have
Chris didn't even say anything.
All right. I think you're right. Your analysis is correct that who wins that match will make it to the quarterfinals probably.
I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah. Oh, Chase could beat Ishii. Like that. Ishii can lose to anyone, and he's impermeable. So, Chase, we know that Chase is a guy that they like to give an upset to, right? We saw that in the G1.
Right.
And we can't completely count out Tangaloa either because of the whole Bullet Club storyline that's happening right now. And plus, again, he's another guy that they brought into the country. Maybe you don't want to beat him right away. So, I mean, there is a possibility, too, that Tangaloa could upset Shingo or Ishii.
Possible, but it is also Tangaloa. I didn't think he had the greatest showing in the G1, and I'm sure that probably will speak to this. I think if they were going to give an upset victory to somebody, it might be Tama Tonga, but I don't think it's Tangaloa right now, at least not for this tournament in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I still got Shingo going through and beating him.
Same.
So moving on here, at the bottom here, we have Taguchi versus Evil with the winner facing Tama Tonga.
Yeah, I think Taguchi versus Evil's got to be one of the least anticipated matches for me of the entire tournament. And, I hate to say this, but if Taguchi beat Evil, that would be bad booking, even though I'm such a such a non-fan of Evil at this point. But I think we have to get the All Bullet Club match between Evil and Tama Tonga going into the second round.
Well, yeah, that's the match, and that makes the second round a little bit more interesting on this side of things too, because you are starting to see this Bullet Club thing flare up finally, right? We finally are talking about it. There's different little segments of Bullet Club, so I want that to continue, right? I finally go with the storyline, right? Like, what is going on with Evil and Jay and Tama? Like, you've got a lot of people that think they're the leader, right? This could actually be an entertaining civil war.
Yeah, I think it's the call to make with everything that's going on. Do these Bullet Club, Evil versus Tama, and then where do they side here? Does Evil still think Tama's in the Bullet Club? Is Tama not down with House of Torture? I think this match will help answer some questions and kind of see where Tama's going to be going in the future. Is Tama going to be a face and do his own thing? So I think we'll find out some of that from this matchup.
Well, it's good that they have other side stories in the midst of a New Japan Cup, but unfortunately, the story of this match isn't can Tama Tonga overcome former champion Evil? It's whose side is he part of? Where does his allegiance lay? And I think ultimately, from my booking, I've got Evil going through. I just couldn't see a way that Tama Tonga is the guy that beats him. Although if he was, I'd welcome it.
So I have the Tama Tonga upset here because you could have Tama. I mean, they look at his G1 booking.
Yeah. They've
been booking him as a hot, fiery baby face. I think they have him beat Evil, and then he can challenge Evil for the Never title next month. And I think him winning would give him some steam, especially after being turned on by Jay and being left for dead. I think you could do some cool things with him getting the win here over Evil.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got Evil on my bracket, but I would, again, like Josh said, I would welcome the Tama Tonga victory. And like Jeremy said, like there's a case to be made for it, because you also need him to not look like a geek after he got just shit on,
right?
So you gotta, if you want him to be a part of the story going forward, which I'm sure they do. He's been an important member of both Bullet Club and New Japan for a very long time. Like they're gonna give him a chance. So I might when I turn my bracket in, it might say Tama Tonga on it.
Nah, it's Evil all day.
I don't know.
I mean, in my gut check bracket here, I've got Evil going to the freaking Final Four. So
I just feel like the G1 was like a test run of all right, how would Tama work if we turn babyface? And I feel like it worked out, and I don't know. I think you need to push him.
I agree with that, but I also feel like it's a case where he's signed, he's not going anywhere, and should they push him? Sure, but at the same time, he's up against Evil, and they could say, "Hey, kid, we got your money. There's a job to do. Go out there and do it."
The assignment for today is job. J-O-B. Job.
Yeah.
So the last trio, we have Hiromu Takahashi facing Sho. Winner of that will face Murder Grandpa Minoru Suzuki in the next round.
This one is interesting in the respect that you've got two juniors, and then you've got an older Minoru Suzuki, and it's probably easy to write kind of all of them off. But you look at the talent that's involved here, and obviously Show's kind of doing the evil junior act still, so that might throw a little bit of water on some of this. But in another lifetime, any combination of these three guys would have been so fucking awesome,
Yeah, like Hiromu's Show opening round match like 2 years ago would have been fire.
Yeah. At the same time, though, there is some interest there because of the whole Show interfering in the Super Junior final against Hiromu. That really never did get paid off, and so you kind of can carry some of that into this first round match. And then, ding, 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 the winner has to fight Minoru Suzuki. That's, not necessarily a prize you want to win anyways.
Hiromu Suzuki would be great, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, that's what I've got on my bracket.
Yeah.
Hiromu's been in the New Japan Cup and gone deep before, and yeah, I'm hoping that we get Hiromu versus Minoru Suzuki because that sounds so awesome.
So I also have Hiromu beating Sho and facing off Suzuki, and upset alert, I got Hiromu beating Suzuki.
I do too, but mainly for this reason. Evil versus Hiromu, the rematch.
Oh. Yeah. That's a thing.
I could do that.
That is a thing. Yeah. Now, I would love if Minoru Suzuki went through, but kind of like Jeremy said, like he's got US dates coming up. They haven't really treated him like a tip-top guy since like he lost to Okada in England, a couple years back. I think Hiromu is still like that top junior who just doesn't have the belt right now. They're going to some respect and have him go through to the third round.
Then I also have Hiromu beating Tama Tonga to get a Hiromu Shingo matchup.
Oh,
I'll say this. If hypothetically Tama Tonga were to beat Evil, he should not be jobbing to Hiromu Takahashi in the next round. He's beating a former champion, and he's a heavyweight. He should beat Hiromu. That's my opinion.
I want Hiromu versus Shingo, so...
See, I think you booked this whole quad. Like, almost everything you said is possible, but I think that your House of Torture hatred has like been clouded, and you just booked this a little marquee on this end. Like, I don't think anything you've said is plausible. Listen, if Jeremy's bracket comes true, it'll be worth it. I will not be unhappy at all. If we end up with a Hiromu versus Shingo, like I'll fucking lose it. But I don't think that's happening.
But you could get to Hiromu versus Ishii.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the third time they've wrestled.
Right, that could happen, and that's a fun match. It's not Hiromu Shingo.
Yeah, but Hiromu would have to get through Sho and Suzuki and either Evil or Tama Tonga.
Sho and Suzuki's no problem. It's the Evil or Tama Tonga.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I've got Evil going through. I think Evil Shingo makes the most sense.
So, I mean, could you have Hiromu beat Evil to set up a never title match, open weight match with Evil defending against Hiromu?
Open weight.
Yeah.
You could.
Wow. What a thought. An open weight title match that's a junior versus a heavy.
Yeah.
Shock.
And that was
and Hiromu could win that.
Yeah, and that was Evil's best title IWGP heavyweight title defense, so that could be a good match. So
and Hiromu could then be the Never champ, and if Hiromu wants to go heavy, he's got to have a run with in the Never division. You might be onto something there.
Just saying, you never know. Don't count Hiromu out yet.
I don't think New Japan can continue to just throw Evil, to have Evil be this like dark cloud over every tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe they will. Maybe that's just what we're doing. But every tournament, Evil gets knocked out towards the end of the tournament or in the end of whatever it may be, because like this groundswell of like, oh my god, I can't believe Evil's gonna win this thing again. And then like there's this huge moment where he loses, like we saw in the G1. So you can't keep going back to that well, because eventually people are just gonna see right through it. But he also won the New Japan Cup 2 years ago. And
right.
No one thought he was gonna win the New Japan Cup 2 years ago. So they are going to keep going back to that well, probably.
I would love it if Hiromu got through and wrestled Shingo or Ishii. I think the most plausible thing that's going to happen here is Shingo Evil.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
So you guys got winning that one.
That's a really tough one, but I've got Shingo going through only because at the same time, and I guess we can get into it, I've got Okan Sonata on the other side, and I got Okan going through.
So you got Shingo Okan.
I just couldn't imagine them doing Evil versus Great Okan. That just sounds so bad. So I've got Shingo versus Great Okan going into the semifinals.
I got a Shingo Ospreay.
Oh.
I mean, I thought about that too. And you could definitely do that. And the winner of that match being the guy that wins the tournament, hypothetically, is not a bad way to go.
Yeah, I've got Evil Okan in my semis.
Ew.
Yeah.
You know what, and I think that's plausible as far as like, could it happen? But I think it'd just be such a mistake if they did that from a fan interest standpoint. And I don't think that's a great way to. Great Okan is a heel. I don't think that they should be putting up against an even worse heel if they're going to be building him, even if he's not going to win the tournament, just to get to this stage. I don't think that's going to do any favors for him or the United Empire. I think it needs to be a beloved babyface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But I have written down what I have written down.
So who do you have winning Okan Evil?
Evil.
So
you have Evil Jeff Cobb final?
Yeah.
Ew.
I have Evil. Well, he got beat. So I've got Shingo versus Great Okan. And I guess we can get to it. So, this is where we're all going to be very divergent because, we've been kind of similar, but we're here now. You've only got 4 guys. So on my bracket, I've got Great Okan versus Shingo. I got Okan beating Shingo through whatever means that needs to be. I don't know what, but I have him beating Shingo and going into the finals against a surging Tetsuya Naito who beats Kazuchika Okada to set up a final match of Naito and Great Okan, which I think is a possible final match just given the history between them.
I think I'm going to officially change my picks to have Shima beat Okada.
That could happen.
And put Shima into the semis. I still have Jeff Cobb coming into the semis. I think I'm actually going to put Sonata versus Shingo. I'm going to put Sonata through over Great Okan. I'm going to put Sonata versus Shingo in on the right side semis. And I think I'll have Sonata. I'll go Sonata Cobb as my final, with Cobb winning.
So my final 4, I got Cobb.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Sorry, I'm like thinking it through out loud.
He's trying to justify it to himself.
I'm like, yeah, that's cool, right?
That would be cool, but he doesn't sound confident about it.
I don't know. Jeff Cobb told me he's winning the tournament. What do you want me to do?
Jeff Cobb doesn't know if he's winning the tournament.
He told me. He said it in a tweet. It's a quote tweet.
Oh my God.
The man says he's winning. Who am I to think he's a liar? He's a pro wrestler. They're very honest.
He wouldn't try to work you at all.
He would never work me.
What's a work?
This is a sport, right?
Yeah. So I have Cobb, Okada on the left side, and then Cobb beating Okada. Then I have Shingo Ospreay on the right side with Shingo beating Ospreay, and then the finals of Shingo Cobb to relive the Wrestle Kingdom match. But I have Cobb. I booked Cobb winning, but I could see Shingo winning, so you don't have the person who beating Okada winning it all.
That's why Shima has to beat Okada.
I could see that happening.
Dang. I want Shingo. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and change it to Shingo in the final.
The only,
I like that Shingo Cobb final. I'm just following you. We're just
Yeah.
getting there different ways.
for me, I've got Shingo going deep, but I feel like it's maybe too soon to do the Okada Shingo rematch, and that's the main reason why I held off pushing him or even Will Ospreay super deep in the tournament. My feeling, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong on it. I think that they're going to push a guy like Great Khan all the way through, someone who is unproven to a certain extent, someone that they want to make, you know? We've seen them do this in the past with guys like Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr. and Evil. They tend to usually take more of a risk with New Japan Cup winners, especially on this year where I think most people feel very confident that whoever wins the tournament is not beating Okada. You could go with like a tried and true proven guy like some of the bigger names in this tournament, or you could go with someone who's never won it and had very few title shots like a Jeff Cobb or like a Great Khan. I like those two picks to be the guy to go through to fight Okada because they're going to lose anyways, but they're going to get that big main event experience against Okada on the big stage. That's kind of why I'm picking Great Khan, and that's why I see him beating on my bracket some of the top names so that, you know, him challenging Okada is plausible. You know, he's beating guys like Sonata and Shingo and ZSJ. I mean, and then Naito, if he were to go through and beat all those guys, you're talking about a Zack Sabre Jr. level run through the New Japan Cup, which is what I think they're going to do, personally.
Yeah,
especially with no Abushi. And had Abushi been here and had he beat Abushi,
yeah, that's another one.
It would have been a crazy fucking run.
Yeah. My only hesitation on Okan is very similar to yours, Josh, about Hernare. Even though he has been getting a bunch of singles runs, singles wins lately, I still think of Okan, like they have not gone all the way with him. He's lost to Tanahashi twice. He did have the upset with Naito, but then immediately lost to Yano and then lost to Naito again. So I feel like they've never gone with Okan yet, even as much as they want to. So I'm afraid to put all my chips on Okan right now.
I felt that way when I was booking this out, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to be bold here. This is what I think the company is going to do. Because I look at that other block and like, yes, there are people that could main event a April, giant show against Okada, but most of them are just names that I don't. The two names that stand out the most to me are Ospreay and Shingo, and it feels too soon to do those. The only other one that I'm like, maybe they could go with is Zack Sabre Jr. Everyone else, I feel like, shouldn't be really in that spot with him, including Evil. So that's why I feel so inclined right now that I look at the whole field on this other half of the side, and he seems like he might be the guy. This is, again, keep in mind, me discounting the idea that anybody on the left side of the brackets is going to win it all, because I think that the guy that beats Okada is functionally going to get the May title shot. If I'm wrong about that, then that busts my entire bracket.
Yeah. Well, guys, we did it. We went through the whole bracket. We all have our final four. We have our winners. We also had a bunch of questions here on New Japan Cup. First from MJPR, he says, is bracketology a science or an art?
Yes.
Yeah, both.
It's one of those, yeah. And that goes for any of this. That goes for the NCAA tournament. That goes for, anything you're like predicting a bracket with. Like, you have to look at everything that goes into it, and especially in pro wrestling where there's like story and competition and good matches. Like, it's a pretty dynamic industry and you have to look at all of it, right? And so same with pro wrestling in general is a science and an art, right? Like, there's a lot of science that goes into doing what these guys do safely, but it's also super artistic in the sense of how they approach it and how they build character and storyline. So, and that is what is so cool about New Japan in general, is that I think that they look at the science and the art, and they respect both ends of it, and they put that forth in the product that they put out. And I think, the New Japan Cup and the G1 and Best of the Super Juniors, like those are all just prime examples of how to balance that in a way that's super entertaining.
Yeah, and I think there's also a science to good booking and, working through, especially this 48-man tournament. I'm sure Goto was, scribbling through several notebook papers to kind of get the perfect ending that he wanted here.
I agree with you guys. One thing I will say, if you're listening to this podcast, you guys might already know, but we do pretty good when it comes to predictions of the New Japan Cup. I think we've gotten really close. Last year, I know both me and Chris both booked Shingo Ospreay. I think we had different ways to get there, but
I won all the contests.
He won the whole contest. So
all of them.
I think if anything, you're listening to the right people to potentially be in the right lane.
Yeah. This next question, we kind of answered it by doing predictions, but they asked, who do you see beating each reigning singles champ in the New Japan Cup, and who would you pick from those wrestlers again in their respective rematches for each belt?
Personally, I don't see any title changes coming out of the established challengers from this tournament personally.
No, I mean, they've been bouncing the U.S. title around a little bit, so that whatever happens there wouldn't be super surprising. The Never title has always bounced around. I mean, both of those titles are coming up on 45 to 50% of the defenses end up with the title change, which is a lot. So
I guess, Evil could drop that belt probably.
Yeah, Evil could drop that belt and actually fail upward, or fall back into the tag division or whatever. So there's not much of a path with the Never title right now. So I actually think they do need to establish something there. But I'm not sure what. Does it maybe back to Shingo? I don't think you go back to Ishii again.
Yeah, I think the most intriguing thing would be
Hiromu.
Hiromu, or you do Tama Tonga getting a shot.
Yeah.
You could. I think we're discounting him a little bit by just assuming Hiromu goes through. But again, he is, the head of a faction. He is a, heavyweight. He's a guy that is more evil than evil in a certain sense and could beat Evil if they really wanted to.
Who was that you broke up for a little bit?
Suzuki.
Yeah, I mean, you could get him back in the Never mix out. That could be interesting. So next question here from Reddit user PSan91. He says, I know you guys briefly talked about it on the show, on the last show, but I still don't understand how some people got buys in the tournament. It would be nice if they gave some kayfabe reason for it. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense to me. I got my tickets for the Oda Word show on March 7th, as I wasn't missing Shingo versus Ishii live.
Well, that'll be sweet. The buys were established by a random draw, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of alluded that to commentary today on the anniversary show. Kevin Kelly was like, oh, yeah, so-and-so got lucky with the draw with their bye or their first-round matchup. So
Kevin Kelly is covering up for the company, not explaining shit. That's what's going on there.
So the other thing that I saw out there, when it was announced it would be a 48-person tournament, the hypothesis that I saw was that it was going to be previous New Japan Cup winners and current champions were going to get the 16 buys. And I kind of looked at it, I was like, that's going to make for a really terrible first round. And that is the opposite of what New Japan tries to do with the New Japan Cup. They try to pop your big first round, get you hooked on it, and then you kind of go through the doldrums of the second or third round. You got a couple of hits in there, but it's mostly just advancement, right? And then you start to hit the big stuff in the quarters and semis. So, but there was no way we were gonna just basically punt the first round in Budokan. I mean,
right.
that seems like a wild assumption to make.
Maybe if the opening was in Corkin or something something smaller, they could have done some weaker first round matches. But even so,
it's all about just getting some attention on the tournament before as it gets going.
So PSN also asks, what first round matchup are you most looking forward to?
I mean, for me, easily, it's going to be Ishii versus Shingo.
I'm way in on Okada and Desperado. I think that's going to be a really, really cool match. I think that they're both going to bring their A game, and I'm actually really excited to see Naito and Yujiro.
Yeah, that the champion versus champion match that would have been my second pick, but I mean, Shingo and Ishii.
Yeah, Shingo Ishii, it would be the number one pick for me. My second would have been Okan Abushi, just because I thought they had a great match in G1, and then plus just the stakes riding on that opening round matchup. But yeah, Shingo and Ishii all the way.
Don't sleep on Will Ospreay and Bushi either.
Yeah, I mean their 2019 Super Junior match was pretty good.
Yep. And I think that's the main event now. Because I think it was gonna be Ibushi Okan.
Hey, yeah, Bushi. No, main event Bushi. Time to step up.
Main event. Maybe he'll take his t-shirt off.
Next question from Les Commission 7252. What match you see being the best match at the New Japan Cup? Mine is Ishii versus Takagi, but anything else could beat that.
For me, and this is only obviously if it does happen, and it's a kind of an outside shot, but I think the rematch between Naito and Okada, if it does happen, would be really great.
I think if we get Shingo Hiromu, that's probably one to keep an eye on.
That would be so awesome.
For me, just based on how I booked it, I do have the Shingo Ospreay rematch. We know that's like 5 stars just by them looking at each other. So that would probably end up being one of the best matches.
Don't joke about that, because there was a match in Noah where these two guys just stood there and looked at each other for like 30 minutes. So
yeah, there sure was. I watched that match. I watched that match live.
Well, guess what? One of those guys is the world champion now.
Sure is.
All's on top.
All those Noah fans want to make fun of New Japan. Look at what that gets you.
How about it now?
How about it now?
Oh man.
They're going to have to start watching Stardom or Dragon Gate or something. I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
No, those are the 3 fandoms that just battle each other.
Or they can just, come back home to New Japan, watch this 48-man cup.
They all did come back home in New Japan. They all wandered to the ring at the beginning of the anniversary show. And they sat in their little chairs. And then Joel made that great tweet on the Super J Cast that this was a preview of the N1 Victory tournament.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I was telling these guys, everyone thinks Inokiism is MMA fighters coming in, mixing it up in the ring. No, that's not a real Inokiism. Inokiism was what's going on in Noah right now. Old guys not putting over younger talent. Wonder where they got that from. I wonder if there was a founder of the company that mentored all those dudes to maybe do the exact same thing. And when he wrestled them when he was old, didn't put them over. That's probably what Muto's what do you mean put a young guy over? Inoki didn't put me over and I was fine. What are you talking about?
Muto's what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? How do I look strong if I lose?
Yeah, how do I get over losing?
Well, I'll tell you, KG, you don't look strong doing a Frankensteiner.
Oh man, let's go next question.
So the Dark Soldier says, I know you answered this last week over my idea of having Desperado beat Okada, and you guys were against it, but I feel it's unfair. Okada loses absolutely nothing over losing one measly match to Desperado, and Goto wouldn't lose credibility over being a booker if he did that. It can easily be a roll-up, and at the end, Okada would get his win back later. AJ Styles didn't lose credibility when he lost that one time to Jinder Mahal, and Okada wouldn't lose anything losing only one time ever to the junior champion.
AJ Styles did lose credibility when he lost that one time to Jinder Mahal.
Well, I'll answer this with the most reasonable and honest explanation. You would be throwing a lot of money away if you have Okada get knocked out of the tournament after you've already advertised that he's in the tournament. And then instead of doing, 4 or 5 nights of headlines with him, you're doing them with Desperado. That doesn't really add up for me from a business perspective. I do think that that'd be bad booking, not just from the kayfabe, but from the actual business side. That would be terrible. That'd be a horrible, stupid idea. And I'm not saying that your question isn't plausible under other circumstances, but given how the company's kind of hurting for money, they kind of need Okada to headline a lot of these shows.
Right. I mean, New Japan's barely breaking even right now. So like you mentioned, you're going to make more money if you do 4 or 5 Okada main events versus doing 4 or 5 Despy main events. Next question here from Rainbow and Slam Pig. Do you think Ibushi's scratch significantly changed the planned outcome of this tournament, given his track record in tournaments and position in the company, or was he unlikely to advance far anyway? Or will Great Okan make an opportunity? Is he a candidate for a deep run?
Well, I'll say this. Whoever wins would have won that match, would have had a pretty likely trajectory to go deep in the tournament, but at the same time would have had a list of killers to wrestle through. I already kind of showed that in my bracket, the way I pushed Great Okan to the finals. If Ibushi was coming through, there's one of two things that was happening there. They were either building him up to have a plausible loss to Great Okan, or they were stacking the odds against him so that when he did come through, it was even greater than people would have thought it could have been, because he was saying he was still not cleared and yada yada. So in my opinion, I think he was going to lose either way, but I could see how that might have changed the plans.
Yeah, I think Ibushi was either going to lose to Okan, which I actually think was the more likely scenario, or he was going to win the tournament. Like, I think the Ibushi track was one or the other. I don't think he was going to lose in the second or third round. I think if he beat Okan, he was going to be the tournament winner, and if not, then he was going to lose.
Yeah, the same thing I was thinking. So last New Japan Cup questions here from Ethan Black. First, he says, do you think in the future the New Japan Cup winners should challenge for any title they want?
Well, that's what they used to do. But, aside from that one time when Nakamura challenged for the IC title, it stopped making sense because everyone who wins it challenges for the heavyweight title or for the world title now. So, no, I don't think they should do that, honestly. I think it should just be an automatic world title challenge. I mean, I don't know. I guess unless you had a junior win and they want the junior title for some reason. I don't know.
But why? Yeah, why would you, if you have a chance to just punch your ticket to a world title match, why wouldn't you take that?
Right.
Yeah.
That would
it just doesn't make any sense to say nah, now's not my time. I
just want a good old never title shot.
Right.
Me and my management team, we thought it over, and even though I just defeated 5 different top players in the game, I'm not ready for the world title. So
I only want to go. Yeah, I only want to go and take a world title shot that I know I'm gonna win. So
I want to challenge the KOPW.
So Sonata, bring your ass out here.
His second question is, if a junior wins, do they get a world title shot, or can they challenge for the junior title?
If an American wins, do they get to challenge Filthy for the strong title?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think if a junior's winning, they're going for the world heavyweight title. So, yeah. So we have 3 New Japan Cup shows this week. So on the 2nd, we have 8 first round matches. We'll have Taka versus Shima, Honma versus Yoshihashi, Nagata versus Goto, Makabe versus Cobb, Yano versus Taichi, Tanahashi versus Yo, Yujiro versus Naito, and Okada versus Desperado. Then on the 2nd, we'll have Makabe and Honma, Tiger Mask and Nagata versus Fale, Chase, ELP, and Taiji, 6 or 9, and Tanahashi versus House of Torture. Chaos team of Okada, Ishii, Yano, and Yo versus the LIJ team of Hiromu Sanada, Shingo, and Naito. Then 3 New Japan Cup matchups, Aaron Hanare versus Yuta Nakashima, ZSJ versus Oiwa, and the main event, Bushi versus Will Ospreay. And then on March 7th, we'll have Golden Ace. Well, actually, this needs to be updated because Bushi is out. There was supposed to be Golden Ace and Great Bash Heel against United Empire. Then ELP, Taichi and Yujiro versus Bushi, Sanada, and Naito. Goto, Okada, Yano, Yo, and Yoshihashi versus Doki, Despi, Taichi, Kanemaru, and ZSJ. And then the tournament matchups will have Jado versus Chase Owens, Taguchi versus Evil, Hiromu versus Sho, and Ishii versus Shingo.
One quick correction. The second night is March 6th.
Oh, March 6th, my bad. So we got the 2nd, the 6th, and the 7th here.
Nice. Well, that's going to do it for this year's preview for the New Japan Cup. Let's cover a couple other things here just real quick and then finish the show.
Yeah, so this Saturday we had the conclusion of the New Beginning in USA tour on New Japan Strong. Show opened up. We had Carl Fredericks defeating Ethan HD, 11 minutes and 51 seconds. I thought this was a pretty good matchup. It's the first time I've ever seen Ethan HD. They told a good story of Fredericks continually trying to go for the Manifest Destiny, and he was finally able to get it and win. You guys have any thoughts on this match?
Well, I think we should just go through the card real quick and then just give general thoughts since we're running close on time.
Yeah, so match number 2, we had ELP defeating Matt Raywald, and then in the main event, we had a strong openweight champion, Filthy Tom Lawler, defeating Taylor Russ, 19 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yeah, another great, strong openweight defense. That's been a really fun title. Tom Lawler's awesome. Was kind of hoping the timing would work out, that he would be able to land himself a slot in this New Japan Cup, but it was obviously just going to be a touch too early. So I'm very curious to see reactions for specifically him, but also just the rest of Team Filthy if they ever actually get into one of the Japanese tours. But yeah, another good episode strong. Always a good episode strong. You get 3 great wrestling matches. You get quality stuff. You got some storyline advancement. Every now and then you get a little surprise. But yeah, I mean, anytime you've got a singles championship defense at the end of an episode, you're killing it. That's always going to be great. And Lawler's been so perfect for that title.
Yeah, I think this is one of the better episodes of Strong. For this tour, this was the final night of the tour, and all 4 nights have just been phenomenal. And at the end of the Tom Lawler match, we got Clark Connors coming out to challenge him as the next challenger. So that also looks very enticing as well. And I thought Phantasmo against Drama King Matt was better than I anticipated it to be. Same thing with Ethan HD versus Carl Fredericks. Very, athletic guy. And, I think Taylor Russ still needs to make a little bit of headway as far as just gaining more notoriety and visibility, from the fan base. But I thought this was a great accounting of himself. He's an awesome man, and him and Tom Lawler had a great match.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Ethan HD. He looks really good against Fredericks, and I thought Fredericks looked pretty good as well in that matchup. ELP and Raywald, I think this was the best Raywald match we've seen thus far on Strong, and ELP was kind of the face here. He's wrestled a lot in that Seattle area, and Raywald kind of talked down to the crowd, and ELP was like, I'm the only one that could, bury this crowd, and so ELP was de facto babyface here, got the win, and they didn't really continue the storyline of him being lack of confidence. He hit the super kick pretty easily here and got the win with the Thunder Kiss 86. But fun matchup, and then the main event was great with Filthy Tom and Taylor Russ. Like you were saying, Josh, the crowd was more into Filthy than they were Taylor Russ, and he was like the babyface in the matchup here. So Filthy Tom definitely getting over, and Taylor Russ definitely needs to kind of get some more exposure. But awesome matchup. Filthy, he hits like a cross straight jacket Kamigoye to the back of the head, and then put him in the sleeper to get the submission win there. And then you mentioned while Rhino Clark Connors comes out, looks like he's going to be the next challenger. And based off the taping, it looks like we might get that match in Tampa. So that would be pretty cool.
Nice. So next week we get New Japan Strong's return, Rivals Night 1 on March 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern. The matches listed for that evening: TJP versus Brogan Finley, Christopher Daniels versus Carl Fredericks, and then Juice Robinson and Dave Finley taking on Jonah and Bad Dude Tito in a grudge tag team match.
Yeah, so fun little episode there to kick off Rivals. And some other strong news: the Mutiny Tour will be taping in LA in April. The company announced their return to the Vermont Hollywood on Sunday, April 10th. The taping will kick off a big week for New Japan, as they got Windy City Riot in Chicago set for Saturday, April 16th. And then we got some matches announced for the Lone Star Shootout Strong taping in Dallas on Friday, April 1st, doing WrestleCon weekend. So Chris Dickinson versus Tomohiro Ishii is official for the Lone Star Shootout. After posting a video on Wednesday, Dickinson announced his return from injury, and he challenged Ishii to meet him in Texas. Really cool promo video. If you guys haven't seen it yet, glad that Dickinson is back in action. And then on social media, Jay White was cutting a promo about his next US of J Open challenge, and Impact Speedball Mike Bailey accepted the challenge, interrupted the promo and accepted the challenge. So that is also set for Dallas, Mike Bailey versus Switchblade Jay White.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. That kind of combined with some of the other matches that Chris Dickinson has announced for that weekend. They just announced that he'll be facing Minoru Suzuki in a rematch from their Bloodsport match. So, that'll be basically the trilogy match for them. And I'm thinking Chris Dickinson might beat Minoru Suzuki that WrestleMania weekend, which, if that happens, would be a really big deal. So I'm looking forward to that. For everything that's going to be happening that WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. Then we had a new episode of Lion's Roar this past week. Did you guys check that episode out?
I have had some pretty serious family issues that have gone on this past week. So, keep my family in your thoughts and, prayers, vibes, that sort of thing. But because of that, I did not see this episode yet.
Yeah, I'm behind on Lion's Roar. I had to take some time to prep for the New Japan Cup, and I have all my stuff ready and all that. But when these big tournaments come through, it takes me some time to organize everything and be ready to just burn through all this stuff. So, but I'll probably put that on. I think I'm 3 episodes behind. I'm probably gonna I'm probably gonna toss that on when we get off here, and I'm gonna try to be awake for the beginning of the New Japan Cup show. So peek under the hood. This is my life. I always try to watch at least like the first couple shows of a tournament live before I start to I guess see all the beats. So so I need something to carry me between this event, which is actually not going to go quite as late as I thought it was going to, and the beginning of the show. So I'll let Fale take me.
Well, I won't spoil it for you guys, but it was, of course, another solid episode. So keep watching Lion's Roar. Glad check it out. It's a great show.
No, you can spoil it. Tell us about it real quick.
Yeah, that show's been great. Yeah, go for it.
Give us some quick thoughts, because we're not gonna cover it next week.
Yeah. So the focus was on the younger guy named Dan, and he's a funny dude, and he's just talking about how I think he was been training with Fale since he was like 17 or 18 like that, and he's one of the youngest guys, and he always jokes, and Fale kind of gets pissed at him sometimes. But I just kind of seeing his journey was cool. Very fun, kind of cocky guy, but he was a cool guy. Kind of learning his story and back history, and then he also focused on the strength and conditioning coach guy. I forget his name right now, but he's running this whole drill talking about he wants to take their soul, and he was having them do like the bear crawls and push-ups and burpees over and over again. And then they did this one gimmick where they had to essentially, like, one guy would have to grab a medicine ball and try to put it in a tire, but the other guy had to stop him. So essentially they were like wrestling and fighting with the medicine ball and trying to get into the tire, which is like a pretty interesting setup there. That was a cool thing. So yeah, those are kind of the highlights of the show. Again, another great interviews, and yeah, looking forward to more Lion's Roar.
So a couple quick news items. NJPW's Gabe Kidd is taking time away from pro wrestling to focus on his battle with mental health issues. In a tweet posted last Wednesday morning, Kidd said that he isn't well, and after 13 years dedicating his life to pro wrestling and putting it first, he needs a rest. Kidd thanked his family and closest friends for giving him the wake-up call that he's needed for a while. Kidd promised that he will be back, and in their message on the issue, New Japan said that they're aware of it and giving him their full support and kind of backing him, which is good to hear.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll take the time he needs and will be recharged and reset, because he's an awesome professional wrestler and he was really hitting his stride.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say just thoughts with Gabe. I know he's a good dude, and he needed some time away, and I think that it's good that he can come out and be honest about why, as opposed to saying he's injured or something along those lines. I think in the past that would have been the path, to not talk about mental health, and I think that this, in some way, even just with New Japan or in our little bubble, like it's good to see someone being honest about what they have going on and taking time to pursue solving that, or at least finding a way to cope. So good on him for being open about it.
This week, all new NJPW episodes hit Access TV this coming Thursday. This will be the first week that they have started to actually do up-to-date episodes of NJPW on Access TV. The action from this Golden Series in Osaka, we'll see Evil versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Never Openweight title, and Okada and Tanahashi versus Naito and Sonata Thursday at 10 o'clock, 9 Central. So, if you don't have access to New Japan World and you do have access to Access TV, you might want to check this out. Last bit of news here. We had the formation and announcement of Bullet Club Hollywood. We had some questions here regarding this new faction, Bullet Club Hollywood subgroup.
Yeah, so on Impact, Jay cutting a promo with the Good Brothers and Chris Bay. They released these new Bullet Club Hollywood shirts that they were wearing in the promo, and Jay continues to say that he's working on making the best version of Bullet Club across AEW, Impact, and New Japan. So a question here from Less Commission 7252. Do you guys think they will possibly have a Jay White versus Tama Tonga singles match in the U.S. or save the match in Japan? I wouldn't have the match in Impact or New Japan Strong because it should be saved where the group originally started in Japan, and it would be great to see them fight in the G1 or at Wrestle Kingdom.
I'll tell you my quick response. The angle was an Impact. They should do the match in Impact. I think that's what they're going to do, honestly.
I think there's a chance that that's something they have earmarked for Windy City Riot, though, if they want to do it on a New Japan show.
That's possible, and that would be a good place to do it too.
They've used the relationship with Impact to build stories or build matches for the kind of bigger New Japan USA shows. So, yeah, and I also think that that's a marquee match for the US. Yeah. I think the people still love Jay and people still love Tama Tonga too. So,
they still love Bullet Club for some reason.
And they love. Yeah. We saw it in LA. Those people in LA loved Bullet Club. Jay White was the face in this match against David Finlay. I mean, like, geez, but I mean, I get it. Jay's great, but yeah. So that it wouldn't surprise me to see that bounce onto the Windy City Riot show. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's where I would do it too.
One last thing I will say though. Maybe they should do it in Japan, because do you want Tama Tonga to get booed like by the U.S. public that loves Jay White, even though Jay White should be the heel that turned on him and ousted him? Like, because that's a very likelihood. I
think Chicago's a smart enough city that I think they actually might lean to Tama.
Oh, he said L.A. You guys are stupid.
I think
I didn't say that. I just said Chicago is.
No, I get it.
Yeah, and Tama does his podcasts, or did his I don't know, with Ross Berman, who's from Chicago. Like, there's some Chicago stuff that goes back with Tama.
I can see easily being 50-50. I feel like they're both popular enough guys, and both Bullet Club guys, where I think the crowd would kind of get that let's go Jay, let's go Tama kind of thing. And then Rambone Slampig asks, what do you make of Gato's backstage comments about Bullet Club members needing to choose sides? With Jay White stuck in the U.S. for now, how would a Civil War story play out in the near term?
I'm just glad that we're finally, I think I said it earlier, we're finally doing this thing. We're like, it's not just like these mishmash of House of Torture and Bullet Club. Like, something's happening with Bullet Club, and we're not just waiting on it. And we all thought it was going to happen in the 2020 G1 with Evil and Jay, but they just never went with it. And I'm just glad that something's finally happening.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it plays out. I think in the near term, in the U.S., you kind of do the Bullet Club Hollywood thing, and you have those guys feud with God, and maybe you have Hikuleo side with his brothers, maybe you have Fale side with them, and you kind of have the Firing Squad Tongan Bullet Club. But then eventually, Jay's going to get his green card. Eventually, we do need to get Jay's unit in Japan along with Tama's unit to face off with Evil's unit. And I'm also curious to see kind of where like ELP and Taichi fit in the mix, and some other kind of straight Bullet Club guys. So I mean, it's very intriguing right now, and I'm curious to see how it's going to continue to play out.
They've got going for them, which is something that they've lacked in the past when it comes to this stuff, so that's good. I hate that they named it Bullet Club Hollywood, because part of the whole thing that made like Bullet Club appealing in the first place was them stealing all the like DX and NWO cool shit, and now they're stealing the shit that sucked about NWO. You don't want to be compared to NWO Hollywood because you're Bullet Club Hollywood. That was like one of the lowest points of NWO. That's a terrible name. They should have done something else. Also, people are going to keep buying new Bullet Club shirts from, fucking, what's his name? What's the big Luke Gallows? Like, that dude's going to be hawking Bullet Club Hollywood shirts everywhere he goes. Like,
big LG.
Oh, man.
So we have a few questions here, then we can get to a recommended match of the week and get out of here. So MJ does PR says, on a scale of Einstein to Van Gogh, where does Goto fall?
I mean, those guys are peons compared to the great Goto. Did Van Gogh ever give you Tanahashi Okada? Okay. Did Einstein ever give you the epic that was Tetsuya Naito's story arc? No. Like, fuck those guys.
Goto still has both of his ears. I don't know.
and he's alive.
He's alive.
Yes.
But I share a birthday with Einstein, so
you did share a birthday with him.
Now it's just your birthday.
Now it's your birthday.
Hawaiian Punch TV has a series of questions here. First, is Yota Tsuji a future ace with his recent look with the hair, sunglasses, beard, and scarf?
Let it play out.
I mean, he's got a look. He looks good. I don't know if he's a future ace. Sure, maybe.
I mean, we'll never know until he actually comes back. But I mean, he's been doing good in Rev Pro, and he could be the guy.
I will ask this: is his generational rival gonna be Uemura? Like, is that how that's gonna go?
Seemed like it.
You would think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I'm into that. That gets me another 15 years of being in New Japan.
He also asked, should Kojima have a cup of coffee at Noah and become the fourth man to hold all three Big Pure titles, especially if Nosawa's fanboy booking and motto of "O's on top"?
I don't see why not.
You know me.
It'd be better than what they got going on right now.
I'm all in for Kojima winning something, so...
Oh, man, that would suck. This sucks for all those guys over there. It's not even like... I don't want to get into it, but I'll just say that all the, quote-unquote guys that are not true, the B-level stars, they're not young. Right. They're all older than me.
I think,
I'm not young either.
We need to have a Noah exodus of all the good guys in New Japan.
That could happen. You never know, man.
That'd be something.
That would be crazy.
It says, with the recent bad news surrounding Cain Velasquez, I was thinking of the good in his career. What are your favorite Cain moments?
I mean, when he beat Brock Lesnar's ass. When he had Brock Lesnar doing cartwheels around the cage, that was something special. But I don't want to speak too kindly of Cain Velasquez because I don't know the details. Sounds like he might try to murk somebody today. So
yeah,
I don't know the details. He might be a murderer.
Right. Yeah. Not gonna put him over too much, but I like when he puts the mask on and does the lucha libre.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think when he starts doing Hurricane Rana, this is when.
Oh man,
lips.
His run in AAA was hot.
Yeah.
Yo, one time when I was in Bible school, I had a poster that I gotten from like B-Dubs, and it had Cain Velasquez and I don't know, maybe Czech Congo or someone else that he fought. And I had it on my wall, and they like came in there and like, what is this? And they ripped it down and they tore it up, and they said I was like, a sinner because I was watching two men strike each other. True story.
Tragic.
I was angry. They took my poster down. I also had an Eagles poster, and they ripped it up.
Damn.
Like the band?
Yeah, the band. Well, it's rock and roll, bro. You can't.
Roll.
Yeah, it's evil. It's the devil's music.
Yep, all those loud guitars and the Eagles.
And drugs and Satan and sex.
Who doesn't like those sweet, sweet harmonies?
So he also asks, who you got in Masvidal versus Covington?
Oh, Covington all day. Masvidal doesn't have a chance, honestly.
It'll be an okay fight, though.
It'll be good. I'm not going to be it's my girlfriend's birthday weekend, so I will not be watching this fight.
And I'll be in Orlando for AW weekend, Rampage, Revolution. Our boy Rich Latta will be performing at the concert on Saturday with Montezi. So that's where I'll be this weekend. And his last question here, did you check out Jack Catterall getting robbed against Josh Taylor this past weekend? Personally, I thought Taylor lost the first 6 rounds. He even got dropped in a point deduction in the second half. I feel for Catterall because he should be unified champ at 140, and he's not.
I didn't watch the fight. I heard that the refereeing was horrendous, and the judging was maybe even worse. So we'll see what happens. It looks like Josh Taylor's going to 147, so I don't think he can make the weight anymore.
And last set of questions here from the Dark Soldier. First, considering he lost his show recently twice, is Yo still a hoe?
Yeah.
Yes, my stance hasn't changed.
I have no comment because I don't need Karen in my DMs.
He's got a shot to redeem himself. If he can beat the ace of the universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi, then maybe he won't be a hoe anymore. I don't know.
He also asks, what are your thoughts on the very brief NJPW stint of Jeff Jarrett in 2014 when he joined the Bullet Club? And remember Global Force Wrestling. Ha.
Jeff Jarrett never loses.
Never loses. That was exactly what I was going to say.
Man,
somehow the man always wins. He's doing something with NWA now.
Yeah, he's refereeing the Cardona Aldis match.
Yeah, he's gonna find a way to win.
Gets that payday.
Don't be surprised.
He
might end up with a Bullet Club Hollywood shirt on.
Yeah, whoever said he wasn't still a member of the Bullet Club?
I mean,
it's for life. Isn't it?
Adam Cole made it pretty clear that they took an oath. It's for life. Like, you don't just leave. Like,
yeah, he was in WWE. The members of NWO most recently that were there was Prince Devitt, AJ Styles, and Jeff Jarrett. That was like the trifecta that established, the true Bullet Club in WWE. So.
His last question, why does NJPW always have trouble with the booking of their tag division? Do they just not believe in the strength of a good tag division?
Yeah. Do you watch Product? That's exactly what it is. They don't care about tag team wrestling. They focus on other shit.
Well, they've had, majority success with the big singles feuds and programs, and from time to time, I think a lot of their tag team division is based on Gaijin guys. We've had Killer Elite Squad and War Machine and Bin Juice and teams like that, and we don't really have that right now. I think they've been doing an all right job with what they had in Japan, but also when the boards open up, we're going to get Aussie Open, and we're going to get some, other teams into the mix, and it'll be better.
I will say this, guys, and this is a dirty little secret. A lot of people don't like to admit. Tag team wrestling doesn't get respect or cared about in most wrestling for almost its entirety of history. It's not like New Japan is some anomaly because they don't hyper focus on tag team wrestling, but everyone else does. Or, like in my lifetime, I can think of like 3 or 4 places where tag team wrestling kind of somewhat mattered. Like, Crockett in the 80s, immaculate tag team division. WWF in the 80s, immaculate tag team wrestling. All Japan in the 90s, yep. And then AEW now. AEW's probably got the greatest tag team roster in the history of wrestling ever. And that's about it. I mean, you can make a case, I guess, for Attitude Era WWE, but that was just guys jumping off ladders. They weren't even really having good tag match. That's one of the craziest things. People act like WWE had a great tag division. They just had a bunch of great characters who were in tag teams who were not having good tag team matches. But that's about it.
Of the ism, just jumping off stuff.
New Japan's like, for comparatively speaking to their whole history, this has probably been like the best era of tag team wrestling they've ever had the last like 2 to 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much, but I mean, we did get, Golden Ace. We did get Dangerous Tekkers. We did get the Young Bucks, We
had War Machine, Red Dragon.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the pinnacle of tag team wrestling in the history of New Japan right now. And it doesn't stack up that bad compared to a lot of other, you know what? NXT had a really good tag division at once upon a time.
Yes.
That's about it.
You said All Japan?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure that got out. Yeah. I honestly wasn't paying attention.
But it's not like there's been a bunch of places where tag team wrestling like headlined and drew money and was a big deal.
Right.
It's always a secondary act.
And or there's the approach of putting like your big single stars in tag teams when they're not. And New Japan has started to do that a little bit. They did that with Naito and Sonata. They did that with Ibushi and Tanahashi. Like, so that is, I think, promising.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah, I think good things are to come, especially when the borders open.
Oh, I mean, I've got a list of another group. We put together a list of like all the talent that New Japan has like access to when it comes to like built relationships throughout the pandemic, and there are so many good tag teams, both that have appeared on Strong and guys like Aussie Open and even some of the AEW guys that people have basically said like they want to get over. Like there could be there's a good World Tag League in the world. Like it could happen. A good, engaging, exciting World Tag League.
World Tag League's great every year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, I watch every second because I got to count the tags and get my little stopwatch out. I'm actually a big fan of World Tag League. I think it's all the tag leagues in Japan are typically pretty fun and interesting. It's just like the timing of the New Japan World Tag League is just really, really rough because you're right. Recently, it's been like you're already fatigued from the G1, and then you've got Best of Super Juniors happening at the same time, and then you're also trying to build to Wrestle Kingdom. Like that's been challenging. So I hope that all gets kind of shaken out this year, and I hope that they can get some talent into the country, because even something like Gallows and Anderson, like at least that freshens something up. It's something different.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap things up here with the recommended match of the week. Last week, Josh, you recommended the match from Taichi Mania 2 between Jun Kasai and El Desperado. I did check this match out. Crazy death match right from the get-go. Jun Kasai sticks the skewer things in Despe's head. He's busted open. So you had all your plunder, the barbed wire table gimmick, and these guys were going back and forth. I was a little confused at what was happening with the referee interaction, because I thought it was a death match and no DQ, and like the ref was like trying to take weapons away from them. It seemed like the match like stopped at one point and then was restarted. And then the match ended in like a no contest after that they had both pushed the ref, but it's like a death match. So why is there a no contest in a death match? I don't know, but I mean, it was a wild, crazy, bloody brawl, but was not happy with a no contest finish in a death match.
Hey, it is what it is. It was still fucking Desperado in a death match against Jun Kasai.
So yeah, it was cool. I mean, definitely worth checking it out if you guys have not watched it yet.
Before we get to this week's recommended match of the week, they just announced 3 new matches for Strong Style Evolved in Tampa. Would you like me to break the news over the air?
Yes, go for it.
So we have a singles match between Yuya Uemura versus Buddy Matthews.
Oh, I'm flying to Tampa. Let's go.
I got a place you can stay at.
I know. That's why I might come.
We have a special tag team match between Fred Rosser and Fred Yehai teaming together against Eddie Kingston and Daniel Garcia, Red Death.
Ooh.
Oh.
And then in the main event, we have a strong openweight title match as Tom Lawler defends his title against Clark Connors. So
let's go.
Is Connors the guy to take it off of Tom?
Literally, this text says, do you think Clark is the man to finally dethrone Filthy Tom?
I think everyone's having the same thought. I'm like, well, Clark's been built up, and
I don't know.
important.
Like, take the belt off Tom right before Mania weekend?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think so, but I'm not because I'm discounting him, but it's because of what you just mentioned, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another match too. I didn't even see this one. Rocky Romero and Wheeler Yuta will be teaming up to take on Jared Kratos and Black Tiger as well.
So Chaos versus Team Filthy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's a fun show.
Yeah.
It's a really fun show. And you got Buddy Matthews still coming in. We kind of haven't heard from him on the New Japan side of things since the Okada match.
He will be on he was on the Rivals taping, so the next set of Strongs he has a match. I forget against Narita, maybe. I forget.
Oh, it was Narita. Something with Narita.
Yeah.
I think that the synergy between AEW and New Japan when it comes to this strong stuff is kind of cool because you have some of these guys that are getting featured weekly on TV, and then they're showing up on these cards, and like maybe people aren't familiar with Yuya Uemura or Ren Narita, but they know Eddie Kingston and they know Buddy Matthews or whatever, and that's I think as those guys get more established, it will only continue to help what New Japan's doing with Strong as a brand.
Sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Chris, I failed to ask you if you had a
I
match,
figured.
But
Come on.
But I know you know the deal here, so
I have been here before. I'm going to go, I guess, kind of chalk for the season, but I'm going to go with the 2018 New Japan Cup final, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Nice. I haven't watched that since it aired. So yeah, definitely down to check that out.
Should have picked Naito and Ibushi.
That was the other one that crossed my mind.
The head drop match.
I watch Naito Ibushi matches. I mean, that's like my favorite rivalry, so I didn't want to be too obvious.
Well, nice.
I might just watch that instead. And
Well, I won't be here next week, so I don't care what you do, but I'll be listening because I always do.
Jeremy's gonna in this match between Sabre and Tanahashi was better. I remember it. Yeah, but I watched Naito.
I recommended myself a match.
Oh man. Well, Chris, thanks so much, man, for coming on again. Tell listeners where they can find you online. Anything you got coming up?
Yeah, so Twitter at the Chris Samsa. That's TheChrisSamsa. Best place to get in touch with me. And then SporterProWrestling.com. I'll have daily previews of all the New Japan Cup shows, starting with night 2. And I think those are just going to go up at SporterProWrestling.com. I don't think I'm going to pump those over to Voices of Wrestling. So yeah, SporterProWrestling.com is my spot.
Nice. Well, next week we'll be back to review the first few nights of the New Japan Cup. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. The network is at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Grave Consequences, hosted by Caleb and Maserati. All Things Elite with Floyd in Austin. And the AEW Match Guy podcast, hosted by Sir Sam. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.